No swearing.
All right, nobody's gonna swear. Welcome to Plat Chat Valorant episode 142. Mimi's here. Wilkinson's here. Special guest in the building. I mean, Sliggy, you are special, but also you're not really. You're just kind of you're here a lot, so it's not. It doesn't really feel as crazy anymore.
It is losing its edge a little bit. It was special like 5 episodes again. Now it's kind of regular now.
At this we point, can kick you off for a while if you like.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
The off season just.
That's what we did to Bren. Dude, Bren's stocks went up so much on Plat Chat after we booted him off for like 4 months, and then he was back and people loved him again. It's fantastic. This one trick to make the people love you. Just go away for a while.
Yeah, no, dude, that's what the WWE does all the time. They just like give someone the boot, and then suddenly they come back. There's Drew McIntyre, Money in the Bank.
My wife
you know
tried that.
Oh, Mimi, that's so.
I haven't seen her in 15 years.
Oh, Mimi. Oh, that's so sad. And I don't really know how to segue that into talking about Valorant. Your wife left you.
Well, unlike my wife, guess what's coming back? Champions. It's 2023, baby.
Oh, I like that.
Wow.
I like that. Yeah, let's honestly, I'm not going to draw out the intro because we're going to spend 2 hours and 67 minutes. So that's 3 hours and 7 minutes on talking about the top 10 players of Champions, if you want to do the maths. All right, let's just get into the ish. Almost swore. Yeah, wait, do you want to try it again?
Just entertaining himself
the
in
audio
the
listeners, the lower third.
I know why.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That is
it's so sad.
That is totally fine. Kurt, what are we at on the clock for the 5-minute countdown of avoiding demonetization?
We are at about 4 minutes, but that includes the preamble time.
Okay.
So about 2 minutes.
All right, everybody, remain calm. Everybody, remain very calm. Let's talk about the skin reveal. Ooh, new Champions bundle. Ooh, I hope you got your mom's credit card number or you didn't spend your stimulus check from COVID because there's a new Champions bundle. And do you want to show it on screen, Kurt? Okay. For the audio listeners, there's a video playing of the new skins.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's floating. It's gold. It's blurple. And... there it is. It's a vandal.
I love our new. I love that we've just. I mean, you've just introduced audio descriptive technology back into Plat Chat Valorant. We have like a few thousand people that exclusively watch via audio. One of which was a developer for Wyatt who recently got in touch with me and was like, I like when I'm driving or working out listening to Plat Chat, and I never know what the hell you guys are talking about because you're just talking about things that they're coming up on the screen. So he's going to really appreciate that.
Yeah, listen, I'm trying my best. And I know, I've shouted them out before, but shout out to all the people that are listening to this while playing Deathmatch or Team Deathmatch. I know there's a lot of people who do that as well, so it's helpful for those people. But all right, new Vandal, new animation, new thing, new knife. It spins around. The trophy shows up that looks like the clock, but the sand one that I can't think of the name of. What's it called?
An hourglass.
An hourglass. Yeah, I couldn't think. I couldn't. It wasn't in my brain. All right, Sliggy, you're the skin expert. Thoughts?
Am I? Okay. I'm like the person that cares the least about the skins, but I will say I like this one. Like, I do like this one. I'm not the biggest fan on the knife itself. I think the knife's, like, very average. But in terms of the rifle, like, I'm in for it. I'll buy it. I'll probably use it. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's good. The fact that it changes as you get kills in game, pretty cool. So, yeah.
I was confused about that aspect, though, because it seems like it lights up. I mean, it's not like a full stat track thing, is it? But it, like, adds another
It adds
shard
more
to the
bright
VCT.
kills, funny...
But it only does it 3 times.
Are
What
you
if you
sure?
get a 4K or an ace?
I'm sure it does. I'm sure there's more stuff that gets added. I don't think it's...
But it only shows it 3 times, and then it's full.
Because my
doesn't
initial
like
thought...
pulsate.
My initial
don't
thought
know.
was that it was because it was like similar to the other champ skins, where like every 5 kills it adds 1.
So
Because that's how the other
kind of-
ones
That's
work.
not what they
So
showed.
see these purple lines. The different purple lines get added as you get more kills. Like if you get like 13 in a game, then like 15 or like 18, 23, up to 30, and so like more of it lights up. So the little like Valorant symbol is for the rounds itself, like if you get a 5k or something. But then the actual gun itself, kind of like more of these light up the purple things.
That's pretty cool. I didn't
Okay,
even
that's cool.
realize that. Were you supposed to get that from this video, or have you found that information
No,
somewhere
That's,
else?
that's why he's the
someone-
skins expert.
That's
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
apparently.
that's actually true. I don't know if it was like a leak or something, or whether it's like on the official stuff. I have no idea what these days.
He's got a
but
guy on the inside who knows all about
maybe.
skins.
Someone did a video which was just like, this is it at 15 kills, 18 kills, 23 kills, etc.
I see. Am I wrong in thinking that one of the previous Champions packs had a Phantom and a Vandal?
No, it was 2021 was a Vandal, 2022 was a Phantom.
Phantom.
The
right.
Brimstone one was for the first champs, and it's also a Vandal.
Yeah,
for
that's
that reason,
that's the one that
I'm
I
out.
use.
I already own a Champions Vandal. I don't need another Champions Vandal. Also, the knife is like cool, but it's the exact same knife as the Jet Kunai, and the only like effects you're getting is if you're top fragging. Most of the games, honestly, you're all mediocre. I'm mediocre. We are all an average person, an average man. We can't believe that we're better than we are and think that we should spend $80 on skins just because we think we're better. You are average. You will not have the glow. It will just be the Jet Kunai. For that reason, I'm also out, even though I was already
You're
out.
very out. Josh
I'm
just
very out.
sneezed so hard it looked like he got propelled by a gust. He just got launched.
Yeah, my sneezes are violent. I think that this. I saw a lot of discussion about, why are they doing another Vandal? I feel like you have to kind of do Phantoms and
People would have
Vandals
been
though
like
for this thing.
really
They're gonna
mad
do
if they like
an
did like a
Ares?
Marshall.
Yeah.
Bucky. The Champions Bucky. I saw somebody in my chat came in today and a couple of days ago actually and said, I just got a survey for the first time through Valorant and it asked me whether I knew that the Bucky was in the game. Somebody at Riot has put a survey out there to know whether or not people even are aware of the existence of that gun.
It's legit. It's a good gun. I like it. It's a good gun. It needs a nerf, if anything. Left click's pretty good. Start using it. You want to win some games.
The right click got nerfed into the ground.
Yes, the left click's good. The right click's awful. Like it might as well not be there. But the left click is pretty legit.
All right, okay. So
Wilkinson.
Champions Bucky next year.
Are you in?
Stocks.
Or are you out?
Nah, I'm not
Wow,
in.
you lot hate esports, man.
No,
This is
I
for
don't-
the
Yeah.
teams. It's for the players.
The
You lot
teams and the
hate
players have
esports.
already got like 100% increase in prize pool this year. I mean, we'll talk about that later on, but the prize pool increase is enormous. What do you want to do? Shower them in money? You want them to...
Yeah, I think we're so brutal on them. I think they have careers that are like 2 years long unless you're at the top of the top. I think we shower them.
Okay,
money.
reasonable. Reasonable. But wait until I'm coaching and then shower them in money. says
Okay,
Slicky.
yeah. Wait a year and then get the best skin out there.
How much is it? That's going to influence me.
Actually, I have
Do we
no
know?
idea.
I
That's
think
a
it's
great...
like $80, right? I feel like it's
Oh
always
my
$80.
$80.
Wasn't that what it was last time? Or was it 60? I don't know. A lot of money. It's like the same as like buying like the new like FIFA 2025 game.
$80.
Yeah, but then you got to think that your $1 goes to your favorite player.
No, it doesn't.
What,
Not even $1.
Not
It
even
would-
No,
it would-
less
it would,
than
it would be like
$1.
20 cents. Maybe.
And I'm sure Riot's taking a split, and I'm sure the
Yeah,
teams
I-
are taking a split. It's like I'm
I-
giving Tens isn't even at the tournament. I'm giving Jojimo 2 cents for my money, and I'm giving Riot 15 cents. No.
Josh, you have to make a decision. You're
No, I've already
waffling.
said I'm out.
Oh, you're
I've
out.
already said I'm out.
Josh is
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
All right.
I'm out.
I've never bought a single one of these Champions bundles. I don't support the esports scene, and for that reason, I'm out.
You lot are crazy.
Crazy.
Esports. haters.
Dude, they're all
I like it, though.
$80. That's
If I
that's
didn't
a
buy the
lot of
first one, I
chicken
would have bought this
shawarma.
one. If I
would
wasn't around in
rather-
2021, I would have bought this one.
I would rather buy no skins throughout the whole year, then only buy this one just for the support. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't care about the skins.
I also
Just,
didn't buy any skins throughout the whole year.
I think in terms of like esports that I've been around, it's very hard to actually get anything like this. So I like to support it. Like compendiums and anything like that, it's very rare. Like we only have like Dota and
Very
like
true.
this that I can think of. So
That's
the only
pretty
time
cool.
where I'm just like,
you're
yeah,
right.
it's
But
good
as
to
an
have it.
average
I'm not
American,
made of money.
I support that. I support it. I fully support it. Great cause. Not going to do anything about it.
Maybe that's the realist. Can I say a bad word now, Kurt? I'm not going to. But
Surely.
maybe that's the realist.
Let's-
Let's
Don't
not
say-
swear the entire
That's the
episode.
realest
Let's see how far we can
thing
go.
you've ever said.
Thanks, Wyatt.
Let's keep it pushing. There's so much stuff around Champions. Guys, did you listen to the Champions song? And is it your favorite of the 3 Champions songs? Which is your favorite Champions song?
Champions!
I'm
They're all
giving
the
this
same
topic
song.
47 minutes.
They're all the same song.
I don't
Okay,
know. Where does
musically-
Kurt's bias come from? The topic title is it the worst Champions song yet? Where's the negativity coming from here? I liked it.
Dude, this
I like
song
it.
Defend
is
yourself,
okay.
Kurt.
Okay, I had an experiment. I'm like, this song sounds awfully similar to the first one in Berlin. If I listen to them back to back, they're basically the same song. I'm pretty sure Grabbits is just a shit artist.
No, that's not it.
nice.
That's not.
Kurt, it's not Grabbit's fault. I know why they sound the
Kurt.
same. It's because the main, like, I'm not, like, very musically inclined, so if there's any, like, music heads out there, you're probably gonna get pissed at me for this. But it's like the melody has, like, it's like a riff off of the Valorant theme. There's, like, the in like all the
Oh,
songs.
yeah, the Valorant
it's the
theme,
same
yeah.
Valorant theme.
Yeah, I
used-
recognize that
It's
one.
one of the main motifs in all 3 of the songs.
I
and
love
it
when I open
always has
Valorant and
the
it goes.
same- that's exactly the song. I don't know how the actual song goes, but the main like Valorant theme is a main motif in all 3 of the songs, and they have the same general theme of like kind of like longer, really melodic, like flowy, like synthy stuff with like slow like building singing that's also really like kind of melodic and flowy, and then there's like one like like drum breakdown into a rap verse. It's the same thing all 3 years. It's just like it's musically a very similar song, and because they use that same motif in all the songs, they all sound very similar to the ear, which is I think it's cool that they're trying to integrate the theme, but I think after 3 years of it sounding really similar, it's like it sounds really similar to the last one.
I just really liked it.
Yeah, I like it.
I just-
I'm on board.
I just thought it was like a more upbeat version of the first that was.
I mean, they're like
hit me.
remixes.
I liked
basically.
it. Well, it felt like a different song, but it felt like okay, when you listen to an album and it's the same artist and a theme that runs throughout the album,
Sure.
do you listen to song 1 and song 3 and you're like, this is the same song?
No,
What are they
I'm
doing?
not,
They're
I wasn't
frauds.
saying it. I wasn't saying they're bad or that Grabbits is a fraud. Kurt was saying that Grabbits was a fraud and the worst artist ever, which I respectfully disagree
Not the
with.
second part, but the first part.
Oh, okay. You don't think he's a fraud, but you do agree.
No,
with the
I think
second
he's a.
part.
Well, actually, I don't know. I have a very small sample size.
Kurt, it's all slipping away. You're digging yourself into a hole.
It's
here.
ticking away.
Also, the
Get it?
video is very
Oh my
cool.
God.
I like the video.
The video is
Animation's
very
sick, yeah.
cool.
I like the
All
video.
the
The
videos have been
animation,
really cool.
awesome.
I did
Not gonna
think
talk
when I
about the
first
song.
watched. I did think when I first watched the video that it was him like reconnecting with his friends while they were all older playing games, and then I watched it back again and realized that he abandons his friends to a life of they all go off and get normal
I mean,
jobs,
yeah,
and he
he's a
dedicates
realist.
himself to the life of the pro player, and then they all come up and turn up to his game, and he pops off by
Yeah, they're
going
keeping
go
it real.
go 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 in the middle of his game.
Yeah, it's like the UK scene. You got to break away from them. You got to just go on your separate way. Get rid of the scrubs, push them to the side, and just go solo.
Yeah.
You can't carry them all the time. You just got to get out there on your own. I
I
liked
feel
it.
like my-
It's a good message.
I feel like my conclusion on the song is that yes, it sounds very musically similar, and when I listen to it in my room and I'm a nerd, I'm like, oh, this is a very similar song to the previous one. But I know when we like see like the final like performance at Champions, I'm gonna be like just like going crazy. Like this is so sick. Because honestly, it's a good bass line. The Valorant song
It
is
is,
cool.
yeah.
I think it's a cool motif to put into all of the songs, and I like that they have that kind of like consistent vibe, I guess. I would love to see them experiment with more creativity and breaking from that mold in the future. But I still think fundamentally all three of the songs are quite enjoyable for what they are. And I think this one is no different. I think it's different enough that I still enjoy listening to it, even if there are moments that I don't love. I think the rap breakdown from like Baby No Money section is a little bit weaker, but I think the melody and like the singing sections, I don't know if it's Grabbit singing or whomever, but I felt like that was fairly strong. And the video is also really good. So overall, my album review is like 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
Pretty
dude,
good.
fucking Mimi Fantano just gave us the breakdown on that one. All right, let's talk about money. I'm talking
I love money.
cash. There's a record prize pool. Sliggy wants the players to get rich. God damn it, they're gonna get rich. How much did it increase by, Josh? You said 100% or 500%? Or
I mean, not
1,000%.
200%, right? Isn't it doubled?
Yeah, it was quite a lot. It's what is it?
150, right? I thought it was a mil
It
before,
went
now it's
from
2.5.
2.25. Yeah, so it's more than 100% increase.
125%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty huge increase, honestly, in prize pool at a time where I find this to be very strange, honestly, because I feel like we've got to a point in esports where nobody's really talking about the prize pools anymore. Like
No,
they
you're
are
right.
if you're talking about like tier 2 events and some incentive to perform in them. But when you're talking about the main VCT circuit, it feels like we've got to the point more now where traditional sports is at, where I don't know what the prize pool is for the Super Bowl or whatever. I don't know what the prize pool is in the NBA or for tennis tournaments necessarily. I just know that they are enough for the players to be able to make a lot of money, and they compete because they're looking to try and be the best. And also, we're in the middle of like people pulling back from their spending in esports. So this took me by surprise, honestly, that they were making such a large increase to the prize pool, because I don't really know that money actually pushes the needle in any direction.
Yeah, it really hasn't. I feel like, I mean, the last time I think a prize pool was really relevant in esports, I mean, it was, people used to care when like MSNBC would do a report on the internationals prize pool for Dota.
Yeah.
Like that's like 8 years ago. Like,
I mean,
the
it was
World
like
Cup,
the big
Fortnite World
check
Cup.
era. Ever since they got rid of the
the
giant,
World Cup.
comically large physical checks, no one's cared about the money. Bring those back.
I don't know whether
I
that's
say,
true.
if Leo Faria
no
gets
one.
on stage with Anna Donlan after this event, like Will and Rose there, all the executives are coming out like, great job, guys. We're executives. We love business, and great job, guys, on performing. And they just have a fucking comically large 15-foot long check for $2.25 million to give to Fnatic. That'd be so good. I would love that.
It would be quite funny.
You lot are way too negative myself for the whole of this. I'm like, I think this is great. I think prize pool matters. I think it's like when people ask about it and you're like, yeah, the winners get $1 million. I think that's sick. Also, in terms of like what you're saying about the economy struggling, like all the teams and the orgs and stuff, is a good way to give back to them and actually make sure the champs does feel different to Masters, because it didn't before. Like the champs felt exactly the same as Masters, really. So now it actually has something that kind of sets it aside like massively. I think that's good. And then like we're saying, in terms of like a good way for Riot to be able to actually give these teams and players some monies. I think the main thing that I'm interested the most is like the skin bundle that we were talking about before. This is the first time that the Chinese viewers can actually buy it. So I'm interested to see the change, because I think the change should be a lot small.
that's a good point. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think it's just, I agree with all that. It's just interesting to see the prize pool be a focus. Yeah, it just feels like it's been so
Also,
long since that's happened. But
if you wanted to give like it as a stimmy check to the teams, doing it for champions is like doubling down, because they already get that skin revenue from the stuff at champs anyway. So it's like the teams that don't turn up to champions are just the gap between the rich and poor is now ever widening. If you're a team that doesn't make it to that event, you're just in the doldrums.
But I think that has to happen as well, because I'm worried about this whole thing, especially if we start looking and getting into the tier 2 stuff that maybe we're doing later. But if I think that like if you're these teams that's just kind of like sailing by and you're looking at like the guard or something, and you know that they're going out 2 years later, like there's no massive incentive to actually change your team and improve, unless like Riot starts going like we're gonna kick you if you don't actually start performing better. So I feel like the incentive to actually want to change a team and actually get results instead of maybe just like a cloud-based thing is a good sign. Because I'm a little bit worried for like the kind of lower teams maybe not being as risky as they need to be to kind of update their teams and stay relevant. It's hard to call them tier 1 sometimes, basically.
There will always be some budget Barrys out there.
Yeah.
Even in
Oh,
tier 1.
get ready for that next year. Get ready for that. Yeah, I mean, Josh, you're talking about wealth disparity. It's only right that that's exaggerated by an event in Los Angeles. Also, further disparity in wealth. Let's talk about tier 2 and how all of the players are going to be losing their salaries because the system is absolutely in shambles. I mean, it was quite poor from the beginning. I think the crucial thing for me at the beginning of this year that I still think is the easiest thing, to fix that is a massive problem, is that there was only one open qualifier. I don't understand why the system couldn't have essentially been the same as 2022 VCT, where you started with 12 teams in the or like you qualified into the 12 teams, then there was the second stage where 4 got relegated and there was an open qualifier and 4 more teams came up. The point system was still allocated in the same way, and then it played out in a bracket at the end of the year with who had the most points. If you got relegated down, you have a chance to get back in. If you don't, hey, hopefully you got enough points that maybe some of the other teams who beef, you can make it into the final bracket at the end. But the year being over in January for 99% of the player base is just an egregious system. You can't force players to wait a year to play again. You know, if there was one in like 4 months, whatever, 3-4 months later in April, something like that, I think that would already be in my eyes, that is the number one change to make the system better. Like if there was only one thing to be changed, that's what I would want to see. Sliggy, how do you feel about that, and just your take on what the largest issues at hand are for tier 2 right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple. Like, I don't know, it's hard to even start on all of this. I think what you said is very true. Just like the fact that it's kind of like 5 months. 5 months is kind of what you're playing for in tier 2, and then it's all done, and then 7 months. And then even then we don't even know. Like, we don't even know when it starts. It's impossible to kind of plan ahead in terms of the future. You don't really know what, like, you can't feel comfortable. Like, if you're a player that hasn't made it, you can't feel comfortable feeling like, yeah, I can kind of sail through and get into one of these tier 2 teams, and that's going to make me a salary. I think the main thing where I'm at is kind of touching on what I was saying before in terms of like these teams that it's going to keep the same players and maybe not be as risky as they need to be, is the fact that there's no academy team. So none of these orgs are allowed to have academy teams, and that whole system doesn't really work because you got 10 teams that in theory, like if you're just looking at one franchise, if you just look at like Americas or EMEA, it's they want to invest and find out new players, but if they're not forced to do an academy or anything like that, there's no system to bring them up or anything, so there's no reason for them to even start looking for new players or just have like any involvement in the tier 2 itself. Like, there's no academy. The whole system of academy or letting orgs do academy teams would just change everything. And then I get the idea that when they get promoted, if they get promoted, very small chance as well, then I feel like maybe they could just sell the org itself or something like that, or there could be something in place. But I just think that for me, the 2 rules of, well, first of all, the scheduling and the fact that we're not allowed academy teams, those 2 don't work together, because no one then wants to support the tier 2 because no one gains anything. At least when it's academy things, it's like you're bringing up talent, you have people that you can sell to other teams or your own teams and bring them in. Whereas without that, I think the whole thing falls apart. So that's where I'm viewing it, really.
I think the important thing for tier 2 is also kind of setting expectations, which Leo had a tweet about this. So Leo had a series of tweets that annoyed everybody in the tier 2 scene, and prior to that, like a couple of weeks even earlier, he tweeted this first one that I linked, Kurt, where he was just he was doing a Q&A, and one of the people that writes for VLR a lot, if you scroll up a little bit, it's called Farago the Great, who was breaking down. You don't want to read all of this though, because he posted like a ton of tweets.
Happy
about
for
it.
you,
So
sad, ain't reading all that.
He's talking about the 1840s gold rush and making it like analogous to Valorant. So he really went in. But Leo responded saying that it's important to set expectations. And I think when you look at tier 2, the tier 2 scene at the moment is still getting viewership and exposure levels if you're a decent team, equivalent to some esports top levels. Now, we call those like tier 2 or tier 3 esports, right? But that's the level of like exposure that they're getting within those kind of games. And you've got that potential return on investment that they're trying to lure you with the carrot on the stick of being able to get into Ascension, which is enormously beneficial to any organization. Now, one of the things that really bothered people this week with what Leo tweeted is that somehow people had not read how Ascension worked and they thought it was permanent, like forever, like they were just going to add 2 teams a year so that in 5 years we just have an infinite amount of teams playing. I don't know why people thought that that was the system, but that's never been the system, never advertised as the system either. But if you think about 2 years' time in Ascension or like in the VCT circuit, that's enough time for you to completely change your organization. Sentinels went from a team that had like Booga, and that was about it, to being one of the biggest organizations in Valorant, just absolutely clouted out the wazoo, being able to leverage that into all sorts of different sales and an enormously larger valuation for their company. That all happened in 2 years. 2 years of having a successful team. And anytime you do that, you're already coming off the back of winning the tier 2 tournaments and having people be excited about you. You're not just some, Billy No Mates nobody that's come into the partnership. You're not EG where you have to actually win in tier 1 for anyone to care. You already have some level of like people hunted for you. So I think there is a lot of value if you can get to the top of tier 2, and people are underestimating the viewership that's there. Like the average concurrents are around like 50k for everything that was happening in the Ascension system, and it can be higher or lower than that in tier 2 depending on what region you're from, but there is still some level of value there. And all of this started, if you want to pull up the second tweet from Leo that I linked, all of this shitstorm started because he said, we're going to implement a lot of changes for next year, including a fully revised calendar, which is the biggest thing that everyone wants to see, and more opportunities to compete. Like he's saying they're making changes that are going to be massively beneficial to the tier 2 scene. And then because he said guest slots and people didn't understand how tier 1 worked, they're like putting his head on a spike. I actually feel like this was the most overblown thing in existence.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
I mean, I think this is just like a classic, like kind of mismatch of like what the community calls things and like internal like company corpo discussions, right? Because honestly, the guard has a guest spot. I don't think that's the right term to use. I think I totally get why people got mad and why it was seen as disrespectful, but it's 2 years and that's it. You're in or you're out. But 2 years is, like you were mentioning, Josh, that is a huge amount of time in esports. It is not insignificant. And I think for winning Ascension, for all the hard work Guard did, obviously it would be great if we could do a system that was around promotion and relegation. I would much prefer that to what we have now, but I just don't think that's realistic in the current system we've built up, and I don't think it's something that realistically we will ever get. This current system is inherently a compromise in trying to make esports feasible for organizations at the tier 1 level to want to be in the partnered league, while also not locking out tier 2 and kind of doing similar to what Overwatch did, where it just kind of started to die because there wasn't a lot of reason to have crossover or a lot of direct access to the tier 1. I think honestly it was just an issue of optics and phrasing, and I think people's tensions are high because there was a lot wrong with tier 2 this year. I'm hopeful that the tweets he put out are things that will actually change and that it's not something that was just kind of like, we're gonna say this. But I somehow do have some hope that things actually will shift in the future, because I think Riot, for all the problems that the company has shown to be receptive to feedback and make improvements to formats when people get pissed. And the community has very much made their voices known. And I'm at least thankful that even though communications are imperfect, we do get some communications from John Riot as to what's going on with the scene. I think it was really just like an issue of phrasing that kind of got combined with the wrong time of really tensions already being heightened because of a lot of the mistakes that Riot has made around tier 2 this year.
Yeah,
I also think a lot of
fair.
people don't quite understand that even in traditional sports, there are definitely regions in the world where competing at a less than like tier 1 level means that you have a primary job that is not that sport. Like the Icelandic World Cup team has like, your local bin man on the team and stuff. And there's a lot of people that try to make it in traditional sports, and it has to be something that they balance with a full-time job. It's not like when we're talking about competitive video gaming, something that already is not making a ton of money for organizations and even players, the top level players are not making a lot compared to the top level footballers or whatever sport you want to compare it to, right? If you start working that all the way down the pipeline to tier 2, there's already 30 teams with at least 100. Wait, my maths is right there. 180 players minimum, right? Because you need 6 people on each of the rosters.
Yeah.
Once you start getting down into tier 2 and you're talking about the 200th player on the list or the 300th player on the list, at some point there, the concept of paying people a livable wage to do this full time doesn't become financially feasible for what's going on. Like at some point, if you're that far down the list, there do have to be other things that you're doing in order to live the dream whilst also, making a living for yourself. And that's the case with every competitive sport that's about, trying to become the best. On the way to becoming the best, you're not always going to be reaping the rewards of what's at the top. I think we should be trying to make the system flatter, but I don't think you can. I don't think it's always going to be perfectly fixable. There's always going to be some unsigned teams around.
Yeah, that'll never not be the case. And a lot of the orgs also, frankly, set way too high expectations for what the salary should be looking like in that space, because some of the orgs that we're paying over.
I think it's on YouTube's end.
Okay.
Let me double check and see if we're on Twitch. So, but
All right.
we're clearly connected then.
Yeah.
All right.
Small pause.
Small podcast.
Small indie
Working
podcast.
off 4G Wi-Fi.
We're good.
We're back.
Show back.
Yay. Sorry, what were you saying, Sliggy? Continue.
I'm trying to remember now. So, yeah, basically just the whole thing with just the America's salary was too much. It needs to kind of go down in tier 2. We need to have everyone's expectations definitely need to get lowered. But it needs a big mix from everyone. Everyone's expectations, salaries need to be lowered. It needs to be just like livable, but it needs to be like feel it like a big accomplishment when you actually kind of achieve like getting to VCT, because it is outrageous. Like the odds are stacked against you heavily. But I also think in terms of like the guest slots, it's technically what they are. I think it's just, it was just maybe not the best wording. And then in terms of the whole thing, like we're going to have 12 teams and one team's going to go away. Like one team's going to go out, but you can have 5 players that have proven themselves to a set level. When they get relegated, you're going to have a whole off season where you got literally 11 other teams that are going to be like, damn, we could get one of these 5 players. Like you're going to see these players, like fundamentally the system works at tier 1. Like I think this is on paper, like the whole franchising system actually has like the best chance of being sustainable and working. It's just trying to find a good level for tier 2, and I really strongly think that it's about the academy stuff. I think like having a 6th player doesn't make sense. You're just locking up all of these good potential players that could be in the tier 2 and actually having some kind of impact in some other teams. So yeah, I don't know, having like an academy or like collabs with teams or just something like that in place would make the most sense for me.
Yeah.
And the schedule, and having a normal schedule where we play for the rest of the half of the year.
Yeah,
I saw your video as well, Sliggy, about like Esther, because they talked about Masters Shanghai and said that it was going to be the second Masters and synced up with the anniversary of the game being released in China, which indicates a much more condensed schedule, packed schedule for next year too.
Yeah,
I mean, I completely echo your fears about things just getting worse, not better, with regards to the scheduling, because it seems like they're committed to having some level of an off season, which you can't pile that much stuff in and still have like 4 months off. And why would you even want 4 months off? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a lot of time off in theory. I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried that it's going to be, at least tier 1 is going to be all of the same, and it's going to be like a 7 months with 5 months off again. which I'm not like crazy. I would much prefer like some kind of split where there's like 2 off seasons maybe, and they're like a month and a half each or something like that. It's kind of split, but I guess it's to make a leeway for like other games in terms of like league stuff.
Yeah, I think
like
it's because they don't want
Worlds
to overlap
and
with
stuff.
League Worlds,
Right.
which is just
Yeah.
like a giant month-long event at the end of every year, which makes sense viewership-wise, but definitely shoehorns the
Doesn't that
schedule
run
quite a lot.
during like November, December kind of time?
Yeah, which is why they want the off season then. I think it's
Right.
normally during November, because remember last year it was like Champs finished in September, and then GC Champs, which was like the last like official Riot tournament of the year, was in like late November. So it was literally like Champions for Valorant finishes, League Worlds starts, they do League Worlds, and then that stops, and then Game Changers Champions goes, and then it's a 2-month off season.
Yeah.
And obviously for the main VCT circuit outside of Game Changers, the off season had started after Champions, but.
It would help a huge amount if they just put Ascension after Champions. I know it
Yes.
doesn't exactly fit with their idea of like Champions being the end event, but Ascension doesn't even feed into Champions anyway. It's a different circuit, so it would just make things a lot simpler if they extended the season, added another qualifier in the middle of the year, and pushed Ascension much later. I mean, maybe that's what Leo's about to announce, though.
Maybe.
He said there's going to be announcements later this month.
I'm patiently awaiting announcements because also, just I think a side note before we move on, unless tell me if I'm off on this, but I feel like this system as well currently, if it doesn't get fixed, has negative implications on the goal of integrating Game Changers with the wider scene, because Game Changers is so much more of a financially stable option for women to compete in versus if you try to join a mixed roster and oops, you come in 5th place and you're out of the open qualifier, and then we have to scramble to get a Game Changers team. Do you want to keep competing with a mixed team that you're on? Like, what's the, I feel like that's also just inadvertently keeping the GC scene separate from the main
I have a
scene.
solution.
What is your
Let's
solution?
financially destabilize the Game Changers scene as well. Genius.
Oh,
Wilkinson.
great idea.
Blow it all up.
But genuinely though, I think that's just it is counter to the mission statement of Game Changers, because it's just so unstable to compete outside of it if you're trying to make a living playing the game.
It's a really interesting thing to bring up. I've never really thought of that. There is like a financial implication, or a financial incentive to stay in GC, because salaries in Game Changers for like the top teams are good and are probably better than some of the tier 2 stuff. And even if that's the goal, it's just so much more stable. So
Yeah, because there are
another complexity there.
there are plenty of really great players and Game Changers that could absolutely compete on teams that are trying to qualify for or are in challengers in NA. But that's a scary proposition if you miss out on the one qualifier in January. Like, that's just, and you're scrambling to find a team for GC. Like, that's just, it's a terrible system, and they need to fix it. So I will be patiently awaiting the hopeful fixes. All right, let's reel it back to Champions, though. We're going to talk about the Pick'ems. Not just talk about them. We're going to do the Pick'ems and come to the ultimate conclusions as to what will happen. So you don't even need to watch the tournament. You're already just going to be aware. All right, we're going to start with Group A, which is Paper X, Crew, EDG, and Giants. The first match is Paper X and Crew. I really, listen, I want to see Crew continue the run, but listen, it's going to come to a brief halt. This is a stop sign on what is otherwise the road to victory.
Hold on, though. Hear me out. Paper X should win, but it's going to be Something's very first game on an international line. He's played Pacific for and some players, but this is a new pressure,
Hate
You're
this
traveling
narrative.
internationally. It's his first time. It's a really big event.
I
Paper
despise
X, what's
this
their
narrative.
style? Really, really aggressive, really loose. They're focused more on like having really good coordination and util combos between individual players than having like a really perfect overall, super flexible game plan or a super stiff game plan. On the other hand, Crew, what did their style change for LCQ? really good at contending with aggression, really good at getting early space on their defensive side, and then kind of giving and playing retakes. They played against a lot of the aggressive teams and dealt with them really well. If Paper X shows up having a rough day, Kesnet happens to be the GOAT, the style matches up. I don't know.
I'm so I'm so tired of this guy hasn't played at an international LAN yet narrative.
It's a good narrative. I don't care if it's
a
fake.
terrible.
It's
that
a
has
good
been
narrative.
a thing
I don't
like
care.
0.5 of a times. Like, what was the case? Like, Alfier wasn't a god; he was just great. Like, was that the only example?
Yeah, but if something's
at
not a
his
god and it's
first
just
LAN,
like, God Kesnet Deus will smite him in the server.
I hate the narrative. I would love to go with Crew, but it's just. Like,
anyways, pick Paper X.
Paper X have Devi, who is just the god of the game, so they win. That's my only and final take.
Yeah, I think there's a world where Crew can pull an upset or even just like get a map, but it's going to be heavy reliant on getting the right maps, and I think the Chamber's going to help them. Been doing Davies on Chamber, and obviously I think that actually can go against the aggression pretty well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm expecting Paper X have had such a long time to prepare. Crew come from last chance qualifier. All the demos that are out, they just literally showed everything. Like there's been so many games of them. Yeah, I think it's Paper X's. But it's one of those. It's one of those that has. I mean, Crew look good. There is upset potential, but Paper X is. I don't know. In my books, they're just too good. I love how the site is just very quiet on this one. They don't want to talk about a Crew run or anything.
I'll give my input on Crew later.
Josh will be winning this game.
Paper X will be winning this game.
Why?
Oh,
This time.
Wait.
Get back to me in the rematch in the lower bracket.
Whoa, All right, hold on.
what?
Let's take it. Let's go to the next game. So Paper Rex we have going through as Josh twirls that mustache. EDG that's for the audio listeners. EDG versus Giants. I'm going EDG.
This is close though. Like don't get this one twisted. This is
How close? Because I'm thinking it's like a 62-38.
62. Okay, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, I like that.
What, you're rolling
Yeah.
that? All right, yeah. So, but yeah, EDG to 62. I'm going to go with them. I'm playing the
Yeah.
odds on favorite.
Yeah,
I actually think
I'd be
this group A is going to be the most fun and actually might be the most stacked group in champs as well. I think all of these teams are really good. I like Crew and Giants. I think the retooling of both of their styles and focusing like individual players on more specific roles instead of moving them around a lot, which they were doing throughout the season, has been very beneficial for both teams.
I think the main thing where I'm looking at Giants at the moment as well is they qualified and they didn't show anything. Like they managed to play a Mickey Mouse final against Navi where they're just using random comps. I mean, it kind of worked, but it's not a comp that they're going to use. And then in the other games, they didn't really show too much. They're just kind of looking decent. So yeah, they go through last chance qualifier and they hardly showed anything, like 4 maps worth or something really. So yeah, I'm telling you, this one's really close. But yeah, we'll go VDG.
Okay. So now we're in the lower bracket where we have Crew versus Giants. This is where Crew goes on a run.
Yeah.
I am still believing in Crew. I have them taking this game over Giants in nail-biting fashion. This one is going to be a thriller to the finish line. Crew are taking it.
Josh, is this your time to talk about
this
Crew?
should-
The tension is building.
You've been
That's
awful
why-
What
quiet.
Wilkinson will say next.
In order for me to predict the next match, I require Crew to win this game. Now, whether or not they will actually do that is another question. I could see Crew's run ending here because I do think this is a very stacked group. I think they've got difficult opponents here. Giants are certainly not pushovers. They haven't had to demonstrate anything. They don't actually play that like loose of a style. Maybe if Fatinho has a really bad game and ends up being shut down, it'll make it a little easier for Crew to win this one. But I'm gonna go with Crew just for the narrative's sake because I really want to see them play twice against Paper X. But I think this one's about as dead 50-50 as you could get. I don't really even see how to predict this match. I know so little about Giants. They look different to when they played in the regular season, different enough that I don't think you can really use how they performed in the regular season as a measure of what they're going to do at Champs. But they also, at LCQ, showed us like three maps, I think. Like, they played a couple of maps, like, over, so I think they've literally shown us 3 out of 7 of the maps in their pool, which is, it's nothing. It's so much less than crew. So I don't know. There's still a big unknown to me about where their ceiling can even lie. I think this is a coin flip.
I agree. Everything is a 50-50. I can be persuaded either way with this one. I don't like, I think in my original pick'ems, I put, like, Giants, but even then, it's a 50-50. It's like on the day, Kesnet, Clouds, kind of head to head, and just everyone else performing. Yeah, I don't know. There's not both these teams look completely revitalized in last chance qualifier, and that was only like not enough data for me to feel confident either way. So yeah, I'm down to be persuaded by whatever people want.
By the way, look at the teams that Giants is going to play against here. If they do end up like losing to EDG, we're going to have Nuki playing against Chishu on Sentinel, and then going up against Davies. Like, those are low key some unbelievably cracked players to have on Sentinel for Group A. Other teams around the world would be loving to have players like that on their team currently with how these guys are performing.
I mean, this group is just like low-key so good. It's like EDG, I think, favored to make another run, probably. It's Paper X with finally their full-strength roster, like crew in the best form we've ever seen them in, I think, like ever for this team. And then like a Giants that is just like low-key looking pretty good in EMEA LCQ. Like, I feel like all of these games are going to be really close, even the ones that we think will have a favorite. Like, I can see that crew Paper X game like being close. I can see crew taking a map, like, gonna be exciting.
Mimi, who are you picking for Crew Giants?
Crew.
Are you picking Kesnet?
Crew, Kesnet, narrative, crew. I want to see what Wilkinson's mustache twirling has prepared him for in this next match.
I'm
But he has one more requirement.
Up.
I think
based in
EDG
Kesnet
needs to
build.
win.
All right. Paper X EDG. Josh, what
I think
are you
EDG
going
win
to try
this
and
one.
convince us of?
No, it's not just trying to convince you of it, right? I think EDG should have won the first time around. I think they're going to be ready to do it this time too. I think
They should have won the first time around when they had a Gecko content creator. They have a professional player now.
Yes.
So is that a factor?
No.
I mean, that doesn't. Well, all right, Josh. That makes no sense.
Okay, here's the thing.
Why?
I really do think Paper X are going to look fantastic. I think they are. But if anything, I think EDG did not just go on some kind of lucky run. I think they went on a breakout performance that is going to see them be one of the top competitors for the next probably year of Valorant. I don't know exactly what the scene is going to look like next year, but I imagine they're going to keep the same roster, and I think this is going to be one of our top teams. The way in which they play, the talent that they have on the team, the improvements. Guys, can we just appreciate how much this team has improved from last champions to now? They have learned like a sponge. They have took it in, and they have looked fantastic every time we've seen them play. They've gotten better and better. The individual form has always been there, but now they're on a heater. I feel like the run that they made is just an appetizer and a amuse-bouche for the main course that is them going on a stomping run at this champions. And we are all going to be just satiated with lovely, splendiferous tastes in our mouth as we watch Kang just contact up his way through everybody.
It was like that watching them. I remember when it was like the Navi game or something. I was watching them and I was just like, sure, they can win like a lot of the clutches and stuff like that. And I was like, but I'm not like convinced by their mid rounding. And like the next game they're doing like FNS style mid rounding, just dominating the map control again. I'm just like, damn, bro, like where has this come from? They've just learned it overnight. Like it looks incredible. Yeah,
Just
they
like
are
this
getting
shift to style is so insane.
It's
to me.
impressive.
I'm buying into the stocks. I'm not saying EDG have given us any evidence that they are better than Paper X currently. I may have heard some scrim rumors, and I may be putting too much weight into them. But I really do.
Josh.
I think if you were going to take a punt on a team,
Josh,
it would be
Joshy.
EDG.
Not the
If you were going to take a
Scrimbucks.
punt, you would punt with EDG.
Okay, I'll at least go on my side. I think that in terms of like coming from last chance qualifier again, like the Chinese teams got a little bit wrecked. They had to go to Tokyo. They then had to practice like all of those games. They showed a good amount to an extent. I know it was relatively easy for them. But you think they're doing all of that while Paper X is just chilling, just coming up with like new fast strats and how they're gonna push on defense in a different style. Like they're gonna have too much. It's you have to go with Paper X here. Like it's just too hard coming from last chance qualifier to be the favorites for this. But they can win. I agree with you, they can win, but it's such a big advantage having that extra time and not showing the data.
Last champs, didn't they get knocked out by LCQ teams after having a break like that?
Is in Paper X.
Yeah.
Paper X was nowhere near as good as they
Yes,
are now back
but
then.
they were also I think they weren't. They literally kind of got completely revitalized once they had something, and like getting rid of Benkai was actually like the best thing ever.
They might have replaced the Devi with a clone. He's just this new gaming AI. He's a fucking god now. Like that was the Devi of last year compared to now is possibly the most stark contrast and significant improvement from a player from last year to this year, period. I'm also not going to think of anyone else to counter that.
Yeah, I can't think of examples off the top of my head.
But it sounds like it could be very true and very real. So I'm going to roll with it. Yeah, I mean, I'm going Paper X for the aforementioned reasons from Sliggy. And I mean, yeah, I'm not just going to rehash everything. So I'm going Paper X.
How incredible is this game going to be, though? Seeing something playing up against Kang, seeing the individual level of all of these players currently when they look like they're peaking, seeing the chaos that's going to be injected into this game, seeing the shorty kills. I mean, this is a stonker of a match.
Do you think this could be the best of the group stage? Because
This might be the best game of the tournament.
Group stage. Best of the tournament? It's possible. I mean, it's possible. I think it's going to be great. But I'm also on the Paper X side. I just, in good conscience, cannot vote against Paper X here. I'm sorry,
right.
Wilkinson. No cooking.
Paper X have moved through. This is where we may find some disagreements in the camp.
Well, this is where the mustache was going to be twirled, but his little narrative,
Crew lose.
his little special world, his little Cinderella's life.
Crew
is
lose
dead.
13-0, 13-0.
30? No.
No.
I mean, this is my bracket up until this point, and I have Kesnet going through in the decider game.
No!
No.
Dude,
No!
They have ZM, JJ, KK. Pretty good player. And he will gap Kesnet Deus.
No. I mean, no. At the very least, no. They're honestly, they're both amazing players, and I can't wait to watch them go head to head.
I just want everyone to have fun.
But
It's gonna be such a
Kesnet is
good
going to
match.
win. Dude, Kesnet is just in rare form. I'm on the crew
But here's
train.
the thing. I don't think the rest of his team is in as rare form as EDG. For all the reasons discussed. We were just talking about them beating Paper X, and now we're talking about them losing to Crew.
I wasn't talking about them beating Paper X at all. Matter of fact, that was Josh talking about that. I don't have them beating Paper X. I have them losing that game and then losing to Crew.
I think if Crew are going to make a serious run here, it has to be by beating Paper X. I mean, partly because I think it'd be funny, and that's the narrative I've come up with, but also because I feel like for Crew to be able to beat a top-level team, like an absolute Tier 1 title contending team, I think they need to have that stylistic matchup edge. It can't just be based on Kesnet going crazy, or it can't just be based on the form of the players or the fact that they are looking good right now. It's got to also be because Crew's playstyle matches up really well against what their opponents are playing. And to me, that's Paper X. That isn't EDG. So I think this would be a bad bracket for Crew to go through, frankly. I think they would have a better chance of being able to go through if EDG won. I think they've got a better chance of being able to deal with the lunatic run-at-you strats that Paper X cook up, even though they're well-coordinated. I think that would favor Crew more than EDG would. EDG are a slower-paced team. I think Crew will struggle with that a bit more.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. That's reasonable. Sliggy, thoughts?
I'm leaning towards EDG, but honestly, Wyatt, you almost had me with that crew stuff. I almost switched over. I was actually just like, actually, this kind of you almost had me there. But yeah, I think I got to go with EDG again. It's just they just look too good. They do just look too good. I think crew. The thing that's scary about crew is like map pool is very strong. Like that's where I'm kind of looking at it and thinking like, okay, maybe if they get a good veto, they might be able to do this.
Listen, we get Kesnet on some of those Rays maps. We might be cooking. I don't know.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with EDG. But again, I think this is more 50-50 than people think, honestly. But yeah, I'm leaning towards EDG.
All right.
I'm also EDG.
So EDG are going through. That's fine.
Dude, this is a tough group.
Listen, that's
This
fine.
is a tough
Cool.
group.
Yeah, this is the hardest group to call.
Submit the pick'em, Curtis. Pick'em submitted. Group B. EG FPX Foot T1. Oh, a banger. So EG are beating FPX. Kurt just already auto-filled that.
Yep.
I
think FPX are in like remarkably mid form. Like, I don't know. I haven't watched a ton of their gameplay, but I just like wasn't impressed. I think they had moments at what was the last tournament they were at where either it was silly enough to be like, yeah, this is pretty sick, or like actually some players going crazy. But honestly, I just see EG dismantling them in this game. And dismantling either Foot or T1. EG's good at the game, it turns out.
Yeah, I don't know how deep it's going to be, but I mean, EG are going on a run. They're going top 4 at least, minimum. Top 4 EG coming up. Foot versus T1. Now I don't know. What do you
This
do?
is a hard one as well. And they both had so much time off that it's just like they could be looking at least better than they were in Tokyo. I think both of these teams kind of underperformed to what my expectations were in Tokyo. The thing that kind of is giving me the edge to, first of all, I always underrate Foot, but that's kind of what I just do. I feel like T1, if I'm just looking at the amount of improvement they make every time I watch them, it just seems like leaps and bounds. So if I kind of go with that whole process, they're going to look way better than they were last time. And I think the T1 should be taking this.
I've already pissed off the Turkish fans, and there's no point apologizing, so I might as well double down. I feel like I feel like Foot have the highest chance of being out of form compared to the other teams because the kind of run that got them through, we haven't seen them compete recently, and the competing that we did see throughout the season was a little up and down, and then it had a very strong finish towards the end, and then they didn't really perform at Tokyo. So I think if you were going to take a punt on, like I said with EDG, if you wanted to take a punt on a team overperforming, I would go for EDG. If you wanted to take a punt on a team underperforming, compared to like the evidence that they've shown most recently domestically, I'd go for Foot. That doesn't mean they will. I just think that it's a reasonable bet to go with when you're making predictions like this. So yeah, I've got T1.
Hi, Wyatt. And hello, T1. I think I'm on the same page as you. T1 just showed a lot of potential, honestly, even though they lost out. Remember, they beat EDG the first time. I think almost beat them the second time as well. Had a couple other really close matches in Tokyo. I think stylistically as well, T1 showed good stuff. I think they had did a lot better job of like slowing things down, flying into their mid round. Carpe was so back. He was in great form for them. And this is, I think, really going to be a game based on form of how well they've done in the offseason. Or not really the offseason, the month since Tokyo. But I'm in favor and feel safer.
Yeah. I'm down for it. I know they work incredibly hard as well. So in terms of like time off, knowing that they work incredibly hard, I'm going to give them the edge.
Are we talking T1? Oh, we're deep in this. Oh, yeah, we got T1. Well, that's fine by me.
Do we think that's even going to be a good game, EGT1?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it will
No.
be.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
2-0,
Why do you think it's going to be
5,
Bro, this is a
13-9.
close game.
It's not a close game,
This is a
Sliggy.
close
It's
game.
not a close game.
This is a close game. You lot are crazy.
Why?
Close game.
Give me a reason.
You got either one.
EG have done a whole run where they've just banged people out on Fracture. You get it's like BBL all over again when people didn't realize that BBL were insane at Ascent. You get rid of the fracture, and honestly, I think that that's a big stepping stone to making this a close game. I still don't think that they're like the favorites or anything like that, or that they're gonna win. But I do think that this is a much closer game, because that's how EG won most of their games, by having fracture, no one realizing that they're the best team in the world of fracture, and just letting it through. And that happened every single best of 3 pretty much. So you take away that, it's the same thing with BBL with Ascent. You take away Ascent, I don't like they're still like an okay team on maps, but I just don't think
I'm not a fan of that narrative.
Easy time.
I'm not a fan of that narrative though, because I feel like T1 also, sorry, not T1, EG also beat top teams on a range of other maps. Like their split was excellent, their Ascent was excellent as well. Yeah, it wasn't like best in world like their fracture was, but it was. They were absolutely up there. And T1 also permaban split. Maybe they've changed that, but I just don't see how they can get an advantage in the map veto. If they get rid of fracture, you're leaving your pick of the litter in terms of the split, Ascent, and I mean, I guess like a Haven or something. I'm not exactly sure.
You would give them more chance on all of those maps, over fracture.
Yes, but I think they're probably still just going to wipe the floor with them. I mean, EDG wiped the floor with them the second time they played against them, too. T1 are not like a team that's competing for a deep tournament run.
Nah, I'm not saying that they're a deep tournament run, but I'm saying this is a closer game than what you lot think in my mind.
You're saying every game's 50-50, Sliggy.
I think loads of these games can be close, yeah, for sure. Dude, a month and a half off, like, this is crazy.
But here's the thing, it's the ball.
This is crew territory.
It's Mr. Isa's 60-40 rule. That is
70-30.
gospel. Or sorry, 70-30. Any game, there's at least a 30% chance that the enemy team is going to win. We can't just come out here and see sunshine, joy, and rainbows and think everyone's going to turn things around and it's going to be close and it's going to go from 70-30 to minimum 60-40. We have to think with what we've seen and ignore the possibilities into the future and believe. And for that reason, I don't care. T1's just going to lose to EG. Let's move on.
Sure. I will say with the EG factor as well, just to pile it on, this is the first time where they're not like they actually have pressure. They're overdogs.
Big narrative. Big narrative.
True narrative.
I'm on the Wyatt train here. All narratives are fake. Pressure isn't real. They're chilling and vibing, and they're winning it all.
I don't think there is. Is there any player on T1 that is better than the EG player in their role? The silence is deafening.
Case closed.
I think the silence may speak for itself.
on their day, maybe, but they're kind of inconsistent with that stuff.
They can.
They can be, but yeah. Percentage-wise, I'll give you that.
Regularly.
Right.
I'm just saying,
right.
I think this can be...
dude,
we spent too much time on this game.
We have spent too much time.
I'm banging the gavel. We're moving on. FPX Foot. All right, Foot. They're stepping on him. T1 versus Foot.
FPX will take him up, though. I'm saying that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a 2-1
Yeah, it's
game.
very doable.
Yeah. This is the weird thing about this group. I think Foot are not a very good team. They have a great chance of being able to make playoffs. A really good chance of being able to make playoffs. Because they're going to play against T1 twice in all likelihood. Even if they win. Even if they win the first time, they're going to play against them again. So this group is just going to come down to whether T1 and Foot win the second time around. I mean, it literally doesn't matter who wins the first time. Play whatever the hell you like the first time around if you're confident in being able to beat FPX. And then just come up with new ideas for the second game. That's what's going to define you making playoffs or not.
Yeah, very, very true. I would like to go with Foot, but I just can't. I felt like they were on the cusp of doing so much more than they did at Tokyo, and I was disappointed in the fashion that they got smoked by DRX on the second 2 maps of that series. I think that was a real shot for them to get an upset win, and they fumbled it. And for that reason, I'm out. And it's T1.
Thank you, Mr. Wonderful. Let's move on to the next
Yeah,
group.
you've Shark Tanked me on this episode. I can only speak in Shark Tank language. All right, submit that pick'em. EG and T1 going through. Group C. Fnatic, Zeta, NRG,
Fnatic. Click it 3 times, Cody, and let's discuss
Fnatic
the other
are
matches.
This is
Zeta.
the least interesting group.
NRG are beating Billy. Fnatic are beating NRG.
Data, NRG.
NRG are beating
Wham
Zeta.
bam. Thank you, man. Submit pick'em.
The NRG Zeta game though has potential, but I think that as long as NRG are going the same route as Zeta are with Chamber, then they'll be fine.
My reason I think Energy is just going to roll is because I just don't think Zeta's style works into Energy. I think if you're playing these really slow attack side defaults versus Energy every round, I think Finesse is just going to feast in the mid round. And I also think, well, Laz is in peak form. I think the rest of the players are just like individually better than everyone on the other side for Energy. I could see it being closer than it should be, but I don't see a world where Energy loses this.
When Zeta Division were performing at their absolute best, when they went on their best ever run, they didn't take a map off Optic.
Well,
This is not going to be a
thanks
good
for
game.
that sunshine and rainbows at the end of this group, Josh. Really appreciate that one. I truly believe that Zeta are like 2 roster moves away from being a tier 1 team.
But they're not going to do it.
Yes.
I think also NRG have a chance of being Fnatic if they go heavy chamber. Like NRG have always been the best at using a chamber, and you actually put that out against the Fnatic, they have a pretty good chance as well.
You are so chamber pilled.
Bro, it's the best agent right now. It is, and if you have someone that is Ardis, like in my mind, like a top 5, potentially even top 3, I think you can make it work very heavy.
I mean, that's also
if they come
assuming
from
that Fnatic also don't go towards the chamber, right? Because they certainly could put Alpha on that.
I think they'll be too scared to make so many risks. But yeah, it would be Alpha. But I think they're at the place where they're probably not going to make too many risks. Whereas NRG will just be like, we might as well. Like, we're not doing great. We're doing kind of average, but they're kind of top performers in the past. So I don't know. And I know that Artist loves Chambers, so
yeah, no, it's
I think
reasonable.
I think they can do it.
But I'm also on the chamber.
It's annoying for some of these games because like for T1, like I think Foot can do well, but I think T1's underrated. And then honestly for Zeta as well, it's kind of the same NRG. I just think it's going to come out swinging. Like I have NRG going top 4, maybe even final of this event. But
yeah, Zeta, wish the best. I think they'll do a great job out there. But guys, for the love of God, make 2 roster changes next year. Submit that pick 'em, Kurt. And
crazy.
then Group D, which is also a crazy group, which is the Liquid, Navi, DRX Loud group. Liquid versus Navi in the opening. What did you say, Wilkinson?
Nobody goes through.
I think we should limit this group to 1 slot.
No. Okay, I think we're going to see a revival. I think the Doomer narrative around Group D is too much. It's too much, okay?
Surely one of these teams bounces back, right?
Liquid
This is
and
not
Loud.
the group of death. This is the
Liquid
group of despair.
What in the Lord's name are you
no.
doing over there? Unclick those buttons, Mr.
Unclick
Curtis.
Navi. Unclick Navi.
Liquid are beating Navi. People have gotten too low on Liquid. I don't know where the fraudulent narrative came from.
You are the reason. What are you talking about?
But I said that I didn't like Liquid because they were stopping players like Safe and Nats from reaching their potential of like winning tournaments. And I wasn't saying they're fraudulent, like they're gonna go out in groups. There's a different. They're like a fucking 2 on the fraud scale. They're mini frauds, but they're not big frauds. They're not like DRX. DRX are mega frauds.
I'm in disbelief. Like, can we pull up something from the history? Can we play in black and white Josh's rant about Team Liquid from like 3 or 4 weeks ago, where you were blowing their back out with criticism. You were going crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot
on
to
them,
criticize because they're a team that could end up winning tournaments, but at the moment they just have too many people making too many stupid decisions to stop them from getting to that point. But they're still going to make it to playoffs. They're still a top 8 team. I'm sorry, this is holdover from Bren saying that Liquid are not top 8. And top 8 in this tournament? Of course they're top 8.
When did Bren say that?
The power rankings.
Oh, well, he's mad. Okay, but Josh, you just my main point here is that you were just talking about you don't know where that narrative came from.
Don't know?
You
made
perpetuated it.
Yeah, that's
Who did
your narrative, Josh.
You're like a child who grabbed a cookie out of the cookie jar every
It's your
night.
narrative.
You went to your bedroom, you had it, and then finally your mom's like, "You want a cookie after dinner tonight?" And there's no cookies, and you're like, "Where did they go? What happened? I couldn't have done this. No." Like you're on your childish arc.
I can't
You are
believe
the
it,
hater,
Josh.
and you are the reason, Joshua.
So are Liquid beating Navi, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not
Okay.
frogs.
Just because I can't stand watching Navi at the moment.
Yeah, me too. Navi, get them out.
Like I actually can't stand it. But dude, if Redgar, if Redgar and Angel are both on Omen, I might not watch this game. Like honestly, I might not watch this game. They'll
It's
just be
got
going
some
for their own little
incredible-
mini game of who can make the worst.
Wait,
Omen
double
TP.
Navi. No, that's the worst timeline. No, Kurt, fix it, please.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
think
the
there's
thing.
nothing we
As-
can do. I can't refresh the page, can I?
Yeah, you can.
I know.
No,
No, you can't. You can't.
As much as
I think this is just what we got to do. Like,
Click loud.
As much
and
as
it's
I'm
done.
saying that, Liquid, they're not as fraudulent as people are making out, they're going to make it out of groups, the lowest potential, like the floor of this match, is so far down. In theory, it could be a good game. It could be a great game. Like Liquid have looked like they have the potential to perform at a really high level, and Navi's players are still in form. They were trending towards better comps towards the end of their LCQ run as well, before the fraudulent finals. But that final game that they had against Koi, they actually looked like they were playing some decent stuff. But the ceiling and the floor are so far away.
Yeah, I agree. This could be it could be a shit show, but it could be great as well.
I just do not think the DRX are losing to Loud. I don't care what rumors you give me. I don't care what reports you hand me on my desk. I don't care who Aspas is signing with. I don't care where he is in the world. I don't care whether Les has been torturing him in some kind of sick device that he's got in the back end of the Loud closet with spikes and a rack. I don't care what's going on. I don't care if Fraud is doing all of the map vetoes. I don't care if Sassy's ringing people up, begging to come back. Loud are beating DRX. That's it. It's over.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, even if
Can't wait for that clip.
even if Loud are in shambles behind the scenes, I think they're just gonna go out and just play with the fuck it mentality, and they're just gonna boom them with. I think that with the skill that they have, I just think DRX in their current state wouldn't even. I don't think they'd be able to handle a team just egoing them and playing how they want and not really having a care in the world. I don't think they have.
Hermie is going to spin the roulette
coordination
wheel
to deal with it.
until they're fucking spinning their way back across the Pacific Ocean with some variation of a roster, but it's not happening. DRX is done.
Okay,
They're not
who
winning
do they-
a
who do
map
they play?
this tournament. They're done.
They're
No,
not winning a map.
nope, it's done. It's done. It's over.
Even I wouldn't go that far.
Actually, they in the lower bracket they might win.
They're playing Na'Vi in the lower
Oh
bracket
God,
potentially.
no! Oh God, I forgot Na'Vi was in this group.
Also, who do they
my
play?
mind
Who
tried
do
to block
DRX play? Who do they play?
They play Loud.
They've said all. No,
and then
I mean their
oh,
roster.
who?
They've been saying all year that they're going to play Foxy 9 at Champions. They've said that constantly.
They're
like,
gonna play
oh no,
Foxy 9
don't
against
worry, we're
Loud.
playing
They're
him.
gonna lose, and then they're gonna play Zest versus Navi. They're
Yeah,
gonna beat
I hope
Navi. They're gonna go
yeah.
back to Foxy 9 for the Liquid game, and they're gonna lose to Liquid. It's the prophecy.
I hope they don't do that stuff. Like honestly, don't even take the sixth player at this point. Just make a decision and just stick with it. Like
Just
it's
genuinely.
Foxy 9 at
killing me.
home.
If they
But
have
honestly,
both,
like,
ugh. Yeah, I
Why not?
agree
Like
with you
just
so
choose,
much. Like,
just choose one. Make a decision. This like limbo is just awful. 6-man rosters are just so crap. Stop trying to make it work. It doesn't work. It's too much work. The game changes too fast. You don't have 50 coaches to make it work. You're not geniuses. Stop the 6-man roster stuff. It doesn't work. You can't be successful with it. It's not good. You just degrade into just a shit team. Stop it. Just make a decision. If they make a decision and they made this a month ago, they have a good chance. But yeah, I hate this limbo stuff.
realest shit Sliggy's ever said. But actually, though, real. Team Liquid Loud. Oh, wait. Oh, no, we're on the lower bracket. Sorry. So the lower bracket is Navi DRX.
Oh, this will be the worst game of the
Navi
tournament.
pain my soul because they have Xiao, they have Sugetsu. Guys, can we put together a win somewhere, please? It's infuriating for me to watch these players struggle in the way they do with how talented they are individually.
It doesn't make sense because
It
the
is
other
so
players that you
frustrating.
didn't mention, the other players you didn't mention are Zipan and CNET. Like you go back to 2021, like CNET and
How is this team not
2022,
good?
Zipan's incredible.
Like
Yeah.
They
on,
Because
have.
they would struggle to not be good, and somehow they've done it. Like it is disappointing. I don't know how it's happening.
When
Well, I do know
Zipan
how
is
it's happening.
on when Zipan is on Raze, it looks better. I
Looks
think
good.
Oh
they've
yeah,
got a
his Raze is
serious chance.
in God mode since the beta.
But also, I mean, considering that Durka only played Raze throughout their win in Masters Tokyo, and a lot of teams have started opting more towards that, I think they win this game against DRX.
Hold on, Sliggy. I need to ask you. You said you do know why they're losing, but
Bro,
then
it's just the
say
it's just the there's multiple things. It's the comps that they just keep on changing. First of all, they just change these comps all the time, and it's this whole thing where I don't know. I'm gonna start a conspiracy theory, but I feel like the whole team hates CNED. Like I just don't get it. Like it just feels like everyone in the team wants this guy to fail. He eventually gets the op out twice on Ascent, and I see Angel dying within the first 10 seconds each time. And it's just like, dude, give this guy just 20 seconds with an op. Like, let him peak fast. Just everything they're doing doesn't make sense. And then they do these comps, and then they just have the pure basics on these comps. So like, and people are like taking orbs on A, and they don't have like a map, like an A orb punish for Ascent. And I'm just watching it, just like how can we be? What have we done with our time? Like are we just trying to impress people and say that we can just use these comps? Like what is it? They're just getting good with comps instead of getting great with a comp, and it really shows. And they just don't use CNED well. Like they really don't use CNED well. I feel like he's the guy. I've watched Descend enough. It feels like he's the guy. You tell him to go aggressive and do something, he's gonna do it. But it just feels like they either don't believe that he can be aggressive, and then they try and compensate heavily with it. But yeah, it just looks like this. I don't know. I feel bad for him when I watch it up.
From listening to how Na'Vi kind of discuss things and how Doombros has talked in interviews, it sounds like Angel often approaches the comps from like a big picture, like our win conditions with the comp. Like this is how it's supposed to function. This is where we get our advantages, which is very different to how other IGLs are thinking about the game, where they're thinking about like playing a composition that's good on the map, and then how do I put my players in positions to win the rounds? And how do I, CNED likes to peek this angle, or CNED likes to go aggressive here, or play with the op here. How do I use the comp in order to put him in his best position? And you can apply that to whoever you like. But it feels like they come at it from a much more theoretical point of view, where it's more to do with the strengths and weaknesses of the composition versus composition, and how to maximize that rather than maximize the players and the talent that they have on the team. And I think that like thought process is just leading them down a bit of a weird track right now.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think they had the most flexible pass in terms of artists, and now they don't with CNED. And like even in the after interview, we look at Split, like the map that is the best for double duelist, and they're like, "Yep, this is the first time we've tried it. The first time you've tried double duelist, and you have CNED and Zipan, like potentially one of the best Razors, one of the best Jets. Like it doesn't make sense."
Yeah, I mean that's all true. I have some sick belief that they're gonna pull this off and beat DRX, but this game just pains me. These are just both teams that should be excellent in the playoffs that you expect to be deep in the tournament, and you're just expecting them both to be in a sad state. It's a sorry state of affairs in this Group D lower bracket, and I'm praying to God that one of these teams can turn it around. But I'm going to go with Na'Vi.
Yeah. I mean, I just
with a fucking prayer. That's it. One of these teams, you're praying to one of them, to the gods of one of these teams. I'm going to go with Na'Vi, with Xiao and Sugetsu. Both of them, they're just too sick. Hopefully they can bring this over the finish line. That's where I stand.
And I'm sorry, but I just remembered FPX DRX at Copenhagen being like one of the best Valorant matches I've like ever watched. And now just looking forward to this one with dread in my heart. It's so sad. Despair. I'm just praying one of these teams ends up being good. But if neither of them are good, I think Xiao and Sugetsu gap and Na'Vi win.
They also played against DRX at Champions too. And it was like for a very, very top level, like it was the one right before the lower bracket final. It was to define which team ended up minimum third. And
that was also a great game.
We're talking about it being a game for like who's about to go home first.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like, are we all in agreement that any of these teams could like get out of this group though? Like,
Absolutely.
It feels,
Yes.
I mean, any of them could
yeah,
just become
just-
good. All
Yeah,
we
that's the
we have
thing, yeah.
the Americas champion, the EMEA champion, a tournament winning squad in Navi who made an upgrade with CNED coming in, and DRX who have been the best team in the like Asian region. Well, not necessarily an upgrade. Well, we don't have to get into that. But DRX who's been like the best team in Asia for pretty much all of Valorant and is only now slipping. And we're expecting this to be the group of despair, not death.
The only team I'm confident making it through will be Liquid. Surely they take one of the two spots. I can't see a world where they don't. So I'm gonna go. Okay, so we have. Are we? I think I'm the only person who said we're the picking. I picked Navi. Anyone else? What are you feeling, Sliggy?
I'm going for Navi.
Avi.
Okay.
I'm gonna say DRX, but I'll go with you.
All right. So we got Navi going through. Upper bracket, Team Liquid Loud. I'm going to go with Liquid just because I think that they're going to win one of these games and make it through. Why not this one? Like I have more confidence in them to be ready to contend in playoffs than a certainty with. I have no certainty with Loud right now. So I'm going to go with Liquid. I think there's a safer option.
Yeah, I kind of echo that. I think they're a safer option as well. It's so hard with Tokyo because like leading it, like it's just 2 games where Louds just kind of just wrecked themselves by just not playing how they normally played. But yeah, in terms of the consistency, you have to include that. So I'm gonna go with Liquid. I mean, Liquid only just they choked really. Like that's the reason. Like that Haven game against NRG was crazy. So I don't see that happening again, but we'll see. Yeah, I go with Liquid F.
Josh.
I don't know. I mean, I would love to think that Loud have revitalized themselves and are actually going to perform at a top level. I feel like it's very reactionary of us all to think that Loud would not win this game, and yet that's where I feel my gut leaning. I'm going to let my brain take over, I guess, and just say Loud, but I could be so wrong and very disappointed.
Yeah, I also like I feel like the second I stop believing in Loud, it's just gonna bite me in the ass and they're gonna end up being good. Like this team has always been good. They've always performed in international tournaments. They had one bad event. They've had some internal issues that hopefully they've worked through. I mean, Sadak is posting, guys, all good. We have no internal issues anymore. And me, I'm a little sheep fan who reads that, and I believe him. Loud is back.
So we're split down the middle. Kurt, get out the coin. It's time for this.
Getting out
This
my
game deserves the
opinion.
coin.
Oh, Kurt has an
Oh,
opinion.
Okay,
Please
love
do.
that.
It's Loud.
Okay.
But what does the coin say?
And then Liquid and
Do you guys
low.
want to know what the coin says? I,
Yeah.
have I already have the coin flip on deck.
Oh, nice.
What do we?
Heads Loud. Flip it. It's very loud. It's heads.
Fantastic.
It's
So-
so loud.
It's so loud. I'm fine with that. I mean,
42.
I think it's reasonable for either two teams to make it through,
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
agree.
way more confident that Loud and Liquid are going to make it through this group. No matter upper, lower, whatever. I think they're the favorites to make it through at this point. So I'm content with that. So we have Loud making it through the upper bracket. We didn't even discuss the lower bracket game of Liquid and Navi, but Liquid, Sliggy, Liquid,
Yeah.
Josh,
I think
Liquid?
so.
Liquid?
any Liquiders?
Yeah.
Man, I really hope we don't get I really don't want to see a Loud versus Navi game where it's just like who's gonna just block their opper the most, who's gonna get the least amount of ops, who's gonna
Guys,
just...
are they gonna let the good Jet player play Jet this time?
That's what I'm
they
saying. Yeah,
gonna-
but
Do you mean CNED or Aspas?
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. Both of them. Like we're
Yes.
gonna have the like 2 of the top 3 Jets potentially in the world going head to head. Might not see him on Jet or an op. Could be,
I am
could be awful.
dreading these games in Group D, but they have the potential to also be ultra bangers. If the teams have taken the time,
Yeah.
like you said, to like focus on 5-man roster for DRX and really learn how to play the game, for Loud to rebound, for Liquid to play at their top level, for Navi to figure out their comps and how they want to enable CNED, like there is a world in which these games are good. And please, God, let me live in it. Let me live in that universe.
I hope so.
Yeah, it could be it could be the best group by far. Like if you ported someone in from who watched last year's champions and then stopped watching until this year's champions, they would be losing their mind at how insane that group is. Like there is potential for without a doubt. So sentiments echoed. All right. Let's move on. We're going to talk about some champions hot takes, and then after that we're going to take a short little break. I believe Bala is going to be joining us for the second half, and then we're going to do the top 10s and all that stuff.
Are we taking a break now or after that?
I think we're gonna have Bala come in now. I think.
Oh, now?
Wilkinson
Yeah, let's do
needs
it
to
now.
leave.
All right, you got to go, Wilkinson.
Goodbye, Wilkinson.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Goodbye,
Be right back.
Wilkinson.
We're taking-
We'll be right back. We have no sponsor this episode. Let's freaking go. Unsullied by sponsors.
I'll be back in a bit.
Thank you for supporting our show, everybody. I'm gonna use the restroom, but we're gonna put on a different Kevin McLeod song this time, though. I'll surprise you.
Hello. Hello.
Some champions hot takes.
No.
All right, perfect.
Oh, I got the audio is super strange for you, Bala. Can you
Oh,
talk?
really? Yeah.
I goofed something up, so I'm gonna fix it real quick.
Okay.
I don't know what that is causing that. Let me put some. Oh my god! All right, this is the fix OBS song.
Fix the OBS song.
I'm gonna mute you, Bala, because it's like strange sounding. Sorry, 1 second. All right, Bala, could you give me a test real quick? Oh my god, it's still goofed up. I'm gonna give you a different link and see if that fixes it. I don't know what I did on my end, but it's definitely on my end.
Hello?
Alright, it might be. Bala, could you talk?
Yes, I can talk. Test.
All right, it's
test.
fixed. Yeah, I don't know what I did on my end, but it's fixed now.
All good. I'm here.
Yeah, I wonder if the viewers could hear that, but the audio was coming through like 4 times for you, Bala. It was very strange, but now it's fixed. Think of the song. You guys ready to go back to the pod?
I'm ready to pod.
All right, I'm going to use the restroom. We'll be back in a minute.
Just fucking juked. All right, I get to talk about everything again, right? So I can do tier 2. We can talk about the skins again.
Yeah, we're just gonna do the same shit.
Yeah, is it cop or
Alright,
drop
bet.
ball? What do you think about the skins?
Cop, you guys are crazy for not buying the champion skins.
I mean, I'm gonna
that
buy
is just
it. I'm
hella
gonna buy it.
disrespect. You guys are literally influencing people not to buy the skins right now when it pays your salary. Crazy, crazy.
Guys, buy every skin. Every skin is good.
And that's all the show I watched. Unlucky.
That was the main bit.
Yeah, I tuned in specifically to talk about that. To listen
We
to
spent
Night
an
Talk.
hour and 15 minutes on the skins, and then spent like 2 minutes on tier 2, and then like 10 minutes on the pick'ems, and that
Oh,
was about it.
I can't wait to spend 50 hours on the top 10 list. The amount of top 15 lists that I've seen so far is crazy.
Yeah, we gotta
Everyone's
end
everyone's
this.
stealing our whole flow. It's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Dude, Plat Gaming LLC invented top 10 lists. Invented it. Matt Mr. X is gonna be sending you an email, summons to court if you posted your own top
We're
15.
back in the mix here, huh?
We're back in the mix.
All right.
Back in the saddle.
Top 10 player time. Top 10 player time.
Yeah, we could probably skip the Reddit hot takes.
Let's do these top 10
You
players.
want to do top 10? Let's do
Yeah,
top
I want to
10.
do top 10 players. And after this, by the way, this is the definitive top 10 list. I don't want to see a single other list until 2024. I don't even want to make a fucking grocery list after this. No lists. Lists are done. This is the last definitive list of the year. Let's get into it. All right,
Dude, everything's falling apart. I tried to add something last minute. So what I tried to do last night, I made a button so I could hot swap guests. So look at Ball real quick. Oh, wait. And then we could swap in
No,
a new guest.
bring him back.
But
there
I
he is.
somehow
Oh, he's back.
made
Okay.
it so the lower third doesn't go away. 1 second.
Oh, that's cool. No, I'm fine with that. Just
It looks great. Look at this. That looks even better. What am I doing? 1 moment. We can start. You should read off the spiel that I put. Wyatt.
Okay. I will read the spiel. Bullet point, scoring system, and logic. Every one of us created a top 15 players list. Rank 15 would earn 1 point, 14 would earn 2 points, all the way to rank 1, which would earn 15 points. We combined the points from all the lists together to achieve this definitive list. We contacted analysts from all over the world and tried to represent each region evenly. However, not everyone was able to submit a list in time. Here is our panel. Achilleos, Allen, Bala, Bren, Chobra, Doug, Dryad, Ender, Gatowski, GB, as in Golden Boy, Kakuka, Mimi, Mitchman, Nyang, Paperthin, Rocket, Sideshow, Sliggy, Space, Tisinha, TMV, Tombiz, Wyatt, XRM, Yinsu. That's everybody. That's a lot of lists.
Nailed it.
Woo!
I'm gonna take it. I gotta
We're
work
gonna
on
read every
breath.
single list individually afterwards and break it down.
perfect. No
We're gonna spend
graphics.
4.5 hours on
No
this topic.
graphics.
All right, let's get into it. Kurt, reveal the. I'm assuming we're starting at 10, right?
Yeah, we should probably start at 10.
Okay.
You can start at whatever you want.
Kurt, reveal number 10 to the people.
Who is
It
it?
is Jing in number 10. Jing was on 15 out of 25 lists and was the highest rated by me at 4. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's literally crazy. How do you feel about placement in number 10? Is that more
And
aligned?
people left him off their
Yeah.
lists
Yeah,
entirely.
that's kind of fucked.
I
He's in
mean,
top 15, yeah.
at least top 15 is kind of crazy. 10th is maybe okay, but I had him higher. He's a god. He was crazy at Tokyo. And in my mind, when something comes back into the team, Forsaken's going to take a little bit of a dip in terms of his role, and Jing will be the guy that shines a lot more. So it'd be hard.
Yeah. I think so I don't know where people sit on this stuff, because when I'm doing the top like 10th, top 15, whatever, I'm thinking like throughout the year, and I think he had a slow start to the year, but then Tokyo was like crazy strong performance from him. Like he was a big reason why they won a lot of the maps in my eyes. So I can see that 10 is like fair if you're including the whole of the year. If it does going off Tokyo, I think it probably needs to be higher. But yeah, I think this is relatively fair if we're thinking like year's performance.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at with it. Like I think I earlier in the year I would have had him more around this placement or a little lower, and then I bumped him up a lot because he was just sick at Tokyo. So he got the bump from me. All right. Number 9. Do the reveal. Number 9 is Demon 1. Demon 1 is the lone EG player in the top 10. He is also the only blank on this list. What?
What?
The only
Blank?
Jet?
I mean, you have to figure it out. Guess what it is?
The only person with a number in their name? The only North American player?
North American, yeah.
It might be that. That's hard to believe, though.
Wait, actually, yeah, maybe.
It might be only
It
North
might be,
American
if-
player.
Yeah,
Like,
Seeing as
like
there will
crushing
be
it on.
4 out of 5 of the Fnatic players on here, guaranteed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably like I can't think of any,
Any
players.
Crashies
suddenly.
enjoyers?
Something will be on here. We already have Jing. That's already 6 of our spots gone. Demon 1, that's 7. There's only 3 more spots. He probably is the only North American
Yeah,
player,
he will
which
be.
is fucked, but probably true.
No, but also true.
No
But also,
Crashies
I think-
enjoyers?
I think for
Sucks.
Crashies
Even
top 10.
enjoyers? No crash
after this
crashes
year?
enjoyers?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
2 years ago. If I think of just the whole, if I think of the
That's
whole,
fucked up.
no, if
This
I
is
think of the whole
hating.
run of, bro, if I think of the whole run of Valorant, Crashies is in my top 10. If I think of this year, no.
He's the reason they made it to Tokyo.
Guys,
He
we're
was
talking
good
about
at Tokyo.
Demon 1. Hold up. Everybody-
Demon 1's really good. I
reel
mean,
back in.
remember, this guy was Humegalol a while ago, and now we're expecting him to be a top 10 player at Champions. He showed up last second to Tokyo, performed really well. Obviously, not quite as God mode as he did in Americas, but I think he's going to feel much more comfortable on the international stage. EG's on a heater, and I think it's fair to put him in the top 10.
Yeah, I think if we look at EG when he kind of came in for BCJ, I think that was kind of people were questioning it a little bit, even me, because I didn't know anything about him. But yeah, I think he's mechanically ridiculously good. He has crazy impact. I think in terms of Tokyo, he was relatively quiet from what we've seen, but he also was the reason. Oh, there's multiple reasons why they got there, but he was one of the reasons why they got there. And I think in terms of this event, he'll probably be the one from EG that I would imagine we'll be talking more about. Maybe Ethan as well. But yeah, I think he's been great. I mean, he's been like one of the best additions to like a team that we've seen. Like him and something have been like the biggest increase of just like bring a player in and we look good now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I had him a little bit lower than this, but I'm not mad at it. All right.
I didn't have him on my top 15. I'll be honest. But
Oh, really?
More just because of Tokyo bias than the whole year.
That's kind of the same I had. I still had him in, but not as...
Yeah, I had him lower, but
Fine.
I base it a lot more on like, regardless of results, just how good of
How
a
good he
player I
can
think
be.
they are.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Not just they can be, because then I'd just be rating P, but like how good they are consistently, and that's where I put him. So
Sure.
like slightly lower than this, because I feel like his aim is crazy. I think his mechanics are insane. His decision making is super quick. But in terms of like being a more cerebral player who it can make calls for the team frequently that win them rounds, I don't put him up there like with something like Leo, for example, or Alfie.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page. All right, next up, number 8. Who do we got? 8 is great. It is Forsaken, and he's looking at his phone. Millennials. When I lose 10 games of Clash Royale in a row. So relatable. That is so real. Forsaken at number 8, huh? How are y'all feeling about this?
I mean, I feel like this is pretty reasonable. Like, he's continued to grow as a player. He's so flexible at this point. He played like 50 bajillion agents for his team at Tokyo. With something gone, he also was going back into the duelist role and was performing as well as ever on that one, looking insane. I think similar to Jing, though, with something playing at this tournament, it should be expected to see a slight like step back in his performance now that he's probably not going to be playing any of those jet maps anymore. But still, the agents that he does play, the value that he brings to the team in the calling and in their just like adaptability to make all these little plays happen where it's just combining utility on the fly. I think a lot of that can be credited to Forsaken, and he's also just sick. He's always been considered one of the top players. I feel like going to every event he's played, despite his like shift in status in the team throughout their time.
I think I had him lower than Jing. Usually I actually paired Jing higher, but this year, I think I actually probably should have changed that because this guy's flexibility is insane, and he's like creative on all the different agents. So I respect the shit about putting it up here, and I probably would change it if I had to do it again, to be honest, because all the like the harbor that he plays, the killjoy that he plays, he's doing a lot more, and a lot of the really, really crucial stuff that the team needs to work their style with and something in the team. So yeah, I'd put him up there, but I feel like his role switches a lot more to like the value you give towards a player like the Vi in comparison to like what he used or what he did at Tokyo.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. He's been the flex player that's probably impressed me the most. It's kind of what you were saying. Like when I'm watching him on Killjoy, it's like a different style of play. Like it's very aggressive. Like he kind of has like a good range of just like it's super aggressive. He'll always try and he's not scared to like just do a peek off his util. Like
He's
his
peeking
util
up his
kind of
turret
goes off
every time. Like,
every single time. Like it's a very aggressive way of playing it, and yeah, it's just really cool. He just plays every agent to an insanely high level, and the whole thing about Paper X is reactively they're all so good in these crazy moments where and like they'll always do what at least looks like the best thing to do in the situation, and it's just very impressive. And yeah, he's just he's like the number one flex for me at the moment, I think, from this year. So yeah, that's to be.
Yeah, that is reasonable. I think that's about where I had him. Number 7, let's keep it moving. Who is number 7 on the list? It is Osbos. So this is like probably the lowest I think he's ever been on one of these lists. His previous rank was 1. Despite having played only 4 maps since our last top 10, Osbos has fallen 6 ranks, which is quite significant. I in a way feel like that has more to do with other players being able to display how good they are than him being significantly poorer. It was just that all of Loud had
he didn't
bad
play
showing.
Jet. He didn't play his role. Like he played 1 Jet map. What was it? He opted 1 round. Like it was just at Tokyo. Osbos was not himself. The decisions that Loud made around map veto and around agent compositions they were playing, I think took him out of his comfort, and he just did not play as well as normal. I think keeping him in the top 10 list is credit to how good of a player he is, because he had a rough tournament. But you have to think back to he won last Champions. He was insane at Masters 1. He's just been like, wait, there wasn't a Masters 1 this year. What event am I thinking of? Lock-in is what that one was called. And as well as in Americas was looking like the best player of Americas. I just hope that Loud doesn't troll him and he actually gets to play the Jet, gets to play his role, and that all of the stuff we've heard and all of the rumors that the streets have been talking about Osbos not working with this team and like having like internal issues, changing rosters and stuff, less being hard to work with, like all that stuff, I hope doesn't come into play and we can see the Osbos that just won last Champions.
Yeah, I think
like that.
Ospas has the highest upwards mobility potential from this, though. Like if Loud play well, surely he's going to be one of the two key factors individually speaking with him and Les, and I think he could just shoot right back up this ranking. To be honest, I really do think he's dropped by virtue of just like, oh, well, we get to see Paper Rex have a fucking cracked out tournament where 3 of their players are all really in excellent form. Like, it's not so much on him. I think it's just other people got to show how good they were. All the EG people that weren't even in consideration.
I would say that like the reason he was top 1, a significant reason that a lot of people were citing was that he started to show a little bit more flexibility off of Jet in the playoffs, and that reason has like gone out the window after the Tokyo performance. So like everybody just wants him to be back on Jet and Raze, and that probably, I mean, hopefully it is just Jet and Raze, but that takes a notch down from, you know, a time where we're seeing Initiator, Sentinels, that sort of thing be ranked highly in the top 10 list. So I think it's fair, but also if he doesn't end up showing good flexibility and like sucks at those agents still, or also forces himself to play those agents, then yeah, he's gonna look bad.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like he still had a good tournament, really. If you just look at like him individually, like in the role that he was put on, he performed well. It was just more the fact of, yeah, when I think of Aspas, I think of a guy who can win a game on his own with a Jet op, and I think that after I watch like more of these teams like EDG, where they just go, this is our big win condition, let's get this guy an op, like literally 2 times more than most teams that I watch. I think I'm gonna be like, if I'm Aspas, I'm watching that, just being like, dude, this should be me. Like like the rumors make sense, because if I'm this guy, I'm just like, mate, this should be me. Like the whole team's game plan should be, give me an op. Like when everyone's talking about Kankan being the best opera in the world, Aspas should be like, no, that's me. I want to prove that that's me. And for that to happen, you need to get him the op all the time. You need to like have just the whole game plan based around it, because I think that's where he shines, and in my opinion, that's where they kind of look the best. So yeah, I still think he's had a good performance. But yeah, it's I think he's probably the one we'll see go up and down the most, depending on what Loud does really in this tournament.
I don't think he's going lower than 7th. And
Dude, if they go out in groups.
yeah, but I still, like, again, when I think about these sort of rankings, I'm thinking of how good Aspas is just by default without any of the.
I agree with you. I put him as third because I'm thinking that it is just default, but I'm thinking if we're doing a collective thing, like we can see it's very heavy recency bias. So
I think he has the most room to go up or down depending on Loud's performance. Because at least the way that I build these lists, I think about like I didn't put like a Showers to get to anywhere on my list because I expect Navi to just go out in groups, even though they're incredible and perform every time.
I did that for
Navi's
Lock-in because we just had single Elam, but now it's like, I don't know, it's a little bit more of a collective thing. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. It depends how you treat them.
Yeah, which is also becomes more into play because we have 15 people on this list instead of the normal like 4 or 5.
All right, let's move on to number 6. I'm curious to see if any other Loud players are going to be on here. I'm going to assume not.
Probably not.
It should be
Only
it's surprising
less,
to see
right?
Les drop so much because Les stocks were at an all-time high after Americas.
But yeah, let's see. Number 6. Bring it up. Curtis. It is something at number 6. Something still is yet to play at an international event. The expectations are very high for the Russian duelist. His previous rank, also 6. So he's remained in the same spot, funny enough. I had trouble with him because we didn't see him. So it's like, I'm struggling with this because we didn't see him. And again, other players got to prove themselves. So is he in my top 15? Yes, but I didn't have him super high because I kind of don't know what to expect. And I mean, I do to some extent, but I think there are just more known quantities that you can look at after Tokyo and LCQ. So it's kind of where I stand. Had him in the list, had him lower than this.
I respect it. I just find it hilarious given Mr. I hate this narrative when we talk about any players who haven't played LAN.
Oh, no, it's not the nerves narrative. It's just I don't really know where to put him because he just... That's really it. Like, he deserves to be on the list based on his online performance, but I've just seen... I think I've seen like 10 to 12 other players go fucking crazy at LAN the last month. So it's like, dude, I don't know where to put him compared to all these people that I just saw be excellent. Like, surely
Yeah.
he's in the top
I mean,
10, though. That's kind of the only
I watch him play DRX and teams I have a lot of respect for, and teams that are really, really difficult to play against in terms of pace or wild shit that they do in Pacific. On land, by the way, not necessarily like it's not online. It is on land. He is playing on stage. He is playing with fans in the audience as well, and a pretty big crowd in the Pacific Finals. And I see him do shit that I don't see other players in his role able to execute as consistently, as fast, as quick. And so for me, I look at a player like that and I think he's one of a kind, and people are going to start emulating him come years after this. And yeah, I just, that's why I'm able to place him that high, because I have such strong faith in some of the newer things that I see him doing. Like small things, of course, but add to that mechanically awesome, add to that really quick decision making, add to that calling ability for this team. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I think he's just a hard person in general to put anywhere, because he's the person we've had by far the least of. He came into the split the least, like with the like halfway through, or just like a third of the way in.
Third week or something.
Yeah, so yeah, he's hard to place, but I'm kind of going with Bala here in terms of like what I've seen. It reminds me of like when people always ask me who the best aimer is, I'm always saying Scream, because I had 2 years of just watching him on like Reina do crazy thing in practice. But I think this is the first guy where I've actually been like, wait a second, I think that this guy might be like the best I've seen in terms of aiming. Like I think mechanically he has the potential to be the best. And I rarely kind of think that, and I rarely will like outright just like say that, but I kind of just like, I watch him and I'm just like, damn, like the potential is wild from this guy. Even when I'm just like watching streams and stuff, I'm just like, damn, he's actually insanely good. And it's the first kind of time, like I watch a lot of Valorant. It's the first time where I've been like, damn, this is like crazy impressive. Like it's I've built up I guess an immunity of watching so much that I don't like get super impressed too easily. But a lot of times when I'm watching it, I'm just like, damn, it feels like this kid is.
He's the chosen one. He's the chosen one. At a time when we need somebody to take down Fnatic, he's the fucking chosen one, man. He's fucking has skills that he was born with. We had all these fake Reynas come before. Nah, this guy, he's him.
Yeah, he might be him. So I'm in for sick.
Are you okay?
Take how serious that was.
Are you okay?
Just the he's him, the delivery. I don't know why that got me.
I hope he's not him, because if he does, he'll do irreparable damage to the ranked ecosystem.
It's already
everyone's picking
why, no,
red.
it's already fucked. It's over. There's no chance. Right now is the peak Reyna pickage right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. All right.
Good agent.
I mean, Kong is above him, or just not on the top 10.
If Conker's not on the top 10, I'll freak out.
Well, let's find out. Let's
Also,
go
if
to number
Kong's
5.
above something.
Is it going to be Kong?
He's going to be 5.
So it
There's-
has to be Kong because
There's also, we've seen no Fnatic players.
Yeah.
So we're about to see 4 Fnatic players, I'm assuming. Except for the fact that Bren maybe trolled Alpha off the list.
No, surely not.
But
Alphair's too high on everybody else's.
surely, right, guys?
I cannot believe Brendan.
Surely.
We'll talk about that later. Let's see the next one.
Number 5 is... Oh, there is. Can.
Okay.
He's the only Chinese player within the top 39 of our rankings.
39. No one else has put in Smoggy anywhere.
Pichu? Mod check?
I was struggling with Chichu, and I've decided he'd be somewhere from like 16 to 20, and Smoggy would be slightly outside of that. But I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't fit him in.
Yeah, I was. They were right outside, almost all of them.
But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that he's this high. I'm going to be honest. I feel like he would be lower on the top 10. This is a pretty big rating.
He's very entertaining to watch. I think that what helps it. He's mechanically outrageous. He has more opportunities to show that he's the best with the op. So I feel that's like why people say he is the best with the op. And I think honestly they're on to a good argument with it. Some of the shots that he hits in terms of just like this game is very important about consistency of hitting the shots, and I think that he is one of the most consistent, especially when it's like hard shots. Like he hits a lot of hard flick shots very consistently. Like he's someone that will aim his crosser in the middle and just flick just crazy and just hit them. Yeah, mechanically ridiculous. Big stand-up performance for him, but yeah, he's very likable. I'm a bit worried for EDG just in terms of like how much they've been playing. and the fact that there's more out there. But in terms of this guy, yeah, I think he's great. Maybe top 5's a little bit too high for me, but let's see how he does this tournament.
He's the best stopper. You're right though. He shows it a lot more. But he's
That's the thing. It's and the problem with me for that argument is like data and how often we see these big events and the like. Can we really compare like 30 rounds of him using an op to Aspas 1 round like in the whole of Tokyo? It's not fair.
Yeah, but
So,
you could watch. I mean, you could watch Aspas during Americas and
sure, and I think like
comparison to those rounds, and I think they are comparable, but Hong Kong
Yeah.
is shown to me that he's better because of the like amount of confidence he has to go for the shots or to go for extra like peaks that other people are just not going for, and he's getting, whether or not he's hitting those shots, just way more value. It's so much more terrifying to play against Hong Kong than to play against Aspas because of that.
Yeah, I think the game plan and the fact that he has full freedom like enables it to for us to think that way. Yeah, I'm still not 100% sold, but I think he's definitely a strong argument. Is one of the best stoppers.
Yeah, without a doubt. Number 4. Reveal it, Curtis.
I'm ready for all 4 Fnatic
Here
players.
comes all
And
4.
yep, what
Yeah.
order are they going to be in? It's Chronicle. I was told by multiple people in Masters Tokyo that the Japanese fans believe he is the most attractive player in VCT. Previous rank, 8. Shout out to Chronicle. And there he is holding his little trophy. Yay! I mean,
It's 3 of those. He's pretty good.
yeah, he does have a lot of those. The most, some may even say. And
Yeah.
some people's opinions. Yeah, I mean, where do you start? I don't know where to start. I don't know where to finish. It's Chronicle. There he is. Like, and then next up, and it's Durka in number 3. I can't believe it. And then, oh my God, it's Alfie or number 2. Like, I mean, it's just.
This was the easiest top 15 list out of all of the lists
Yeah.
we've done so far. Like the top 5 was just so fucking easy. Granted, I probably, people are going to have problems with everybody's individual top 5 based on the orders or whatever, but like it
But
was
it's probably
so
the same
easy.
like 5 players.
Yeah.
For pretty much everyone.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Chronicle's
You gotta-
good. He supports his team really well. He's won the most tournaments of anyone. He shoots the gun really well. He adds ideas.
I mean,
like pretty good player, I think.
I'm probably slightly, I am lower here on Chronicle than everybody else. I think people are getting kind of blinded by the trophies with Chronicle and blinded by the
I actually
possible
have him
GOAT
lower
argument.
too. People are they're ready to hate.
Yeah. Regardless, though, like I can't even like argue against the 4th at this current point because he does have that potential. He is consistent as fuck. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I'm 100% fine with this. I just think people are blinded by the trophies right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sliggy, go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say you just look at this year, like you gotta look at this year, and yeah, it's just consistent. They're the team that makes the least mistakes, and he's part of the team in a very integral part. So, just he's just very impressive. Doesn't make too many mistakes. Maybe I would say actually, if I'm being a little bit brutal, probably does make the most mistakes out of the team, which is also kind of crazy because he probably makes the least mistakes out of maybe like the top 20 in the world. So it's pretty mad. So yeah, it's kind of stacked. But yeah, I mean, crazy talented person, and in terms of like all the roles as well, it feels like he's pretty flexible. So yeah, he's good.
All right, number 3. Which Fnatic player is coming next, guys? Who do you think it's going to be? Is it Durka? Is it Alpha? Is it Boaster? And it's Alfier
Alpha.
in number 3. Bren left Alfier off his list. Is he on to something, or did he forgore? What would his explanation be if he was here right now?
If Bren was
Previous
here-
rank, number 9.
If Bren was here, he'd probably go into the voice where he's like, "Yeah, guys, I forgot Alpha Year," and then just move on.
No, but no,
he debated.
I can't shoot Bren Bale for this because everybody's saying he did this on stream and his chat was yelling at him to put Alfier on the list. So no, he didn't forget. I don't know why he kept him off his list. Somebody told me it was because he didn't believe he was a pure, like he had the sentinel skill, and he just got by shooting people, which is wrong.
Wait,
First
He
off.
also shoots
didn't
people.
he?
the
Didn't he
best.
just make that argument about shooting people?
Yes,
He
exactly.
just do that big thing, that big speech about how if you can't shoot people, then you're just useless at the game. And then now he's using that against not putting him in the list.
Curious.
Oh,
Bren,
Christ.
you're probably in Twitter in chat. Defend yourself, and we won't pay attention. Good luck. Bye.
And we won't acknowledge it.
Yeah, but quickly to touch on to some of just how,
Yeah.
especially if I look at this year, I feel like this tournament itself was a big standout for him. Felt like he had crazy impact. Like obviously he did have good impact at lock-in. Like let's not forget about a lot of the rounds that he won. But in terms of like this event himself, probably the most impactful player. If you're just looking at round, we need a 2K or we need something to happen or an important kill. This guy can't die. Has to get the next kill. It was always him.
It's
So-
crazy because, bro, Fnatic doesn't need many rounds where it's like, oh, somebody needs to have a hero play. And
Yep.
so, like, constantly he runs down showers. Doesn't need to do this, by the way. If he just gets outside of showers and controls that space, it's fine. The round is probably going to go pretty well for Fnatic. That's a win con. He kills 2 people, the round is just over because they have such control in those moments, too. So, like, he can, I don't know if it's like he knows, okay, if I do something crazy, if I'm able to get this, then like my team will just carry the rest of this through, and it's like a high percentage play because of that. But yeah, I mean, ridiculous.
And he's getting more and more confident. If someone's buying an op on Cypher on attack, you know that they're very very confident. So the fact he's doing that kind of stuff is kind of crazy. Yeah, it's exciting to kind of see where he's gonna go because, like I'm saying, as he builds up more confidence, we're starting to see kind of the outfare that Mini was talking about when he first kind of scouted him. To me, at least, just being like, this guy is next level. Just drop him 30 every single game. So
It's hilarious because when they were fucking around with like Durka playing Jet again and Alfie were playing Sentinel, or no, sorry, whatever they were doing at that Egyptian tournament where Alfie was playing Chamber.
yeah,
And Minnie was like, actually, this is, Minnie told me, actually, this is what we were originally planning when we picked up Alfia. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no way.
Yeah,
After
he was-
watching his Rays that last year, there was no way. And yeah, no, he's a goat. He's so good.
Yeah, I mean they can fall back on Chamber if they want as well. It's actually pretty scary. It's a flexible team. I think that's the best thing
Durka
about this
Chamber
team.
Alpha Rays thing coming
Yeah.
back if they need it. Yeah.
They're one of the only teams that kind of were brutal first of all. Like were brutal in terms of kicking people that were performing well and upgrading, and they just built around flexibility, good understanding of the game. And yeah, he's a great flexible player, really good at multiple roles, crazy talented.
Anybody want to make some side bets on who comes next to Durka or Leo? Which order is it going to be in?
I mean,
it'd be
it's definitely
Durka
Durka
than
than Leo.
Yeah,
You think so?
Yeah, 100%.
I
I've seen
would
so
think
many
so,
top
too.
1 Leos.
What if
Yeah,
neither
I've
of
seen too
them
many.
are on it?
That's literally impossible. That is
Sure.
who's going to be next. It's literally impossible.
It's impossible.
It's
impossible.
not possible.
Yes.
Let's see who's next. And number 2 is Durka. And what do you know? It's Durka. Durka's the
surprising.
uncontested highest ranking duelist on our list. Are there really 4 Fnatic players in the top 4? I mean,
Yes.
yeah. Previous rank,
Yes.
2. Current rank, 2. There he is with the trophy. Amazing at Raze,
love-
amazing at Jet.
I mean, can we just
He's
say
amazing.
it's Durka and move on to Leo and say it's Leo and then say Fnatic's gonna win the event?
Yep.
Like that's it. That's
just
it, guys.
love-
They're good.
Kurt trying his best to like put some tension into the list with the quote, with the old quotes, and there's just none building.
I mean, I don't. Do we? What? I don't. What even needs to be said? He's just the.
He's Durka. He's
just
really
Durka,
good.
He's
He's
the
a
best
great Jet player.
duelist.
He's a great race player. He didn't even have to play Jet in the last tournament. He's good at every role he plays. He doesn't make many mistakes. He's insane mechanically. He plays into the team system really well. Okay, let's talk about Leo.
Number 1. I mean, Sliggy, did you want to say something? I thought you did possibly.
I mean, you kind of covered it fast. It's impressive that he played a whole tournament on potentially like his second best agent. And in terms of when I've watched him from like a year ago or even like a year and a half ago, I think he's the person that has actually focused a lot on not making mistakes. Like when I used to watch Fnatic, it was very swing with him in terms of like I don't know if it was like trusting the rest of his teammates or whatever it was, but it felt like he would always feel like he had to go an extra step to win the round, even though he's won the round. And he just stops all that bullshit now. He'll literally just like he'll win the rounds and then he'll stay put and just hold and just do the boring role that you have to do now.
I remember
That's-
so many rounds from Champions last year where you're talking exactly like you'd be like updrafting, dashing way first in the team and like stuff like that.
He doesn't have to. I think he doesn't feel like he has to go above and beyond anymore. And I think that's kind of I prefer him in this role. It's like obviously we know we can do the crazy stuff, but he's got beasts around him that can do that can win rounds as well. So cool.
All right. Next up, it's number 1. It's Leo, the best initiator in the world. Oh my God, it's Happy Cat.
Happy Cat! Happy Cat!
Currently unsigned, but we can see the level of potential. That's
next
so real.
We got Happy Cat highlights.
That's
Dude, Happy Cat was great at Tokyo, but definitely had a rough tournament at lock-in, but really excited to see what he can bring at Champion.
that was honestly, Kurt. That's a necessary. That is a more than necessary surprise. Okay, we don't even need to see the number 1 for real now. Okay, I guess we'll see it. Is this number 0? It's Leo. Oh my God. He was ranked number 1 on 13 lists. He's the best initiator in the world. Yep, previous rank 4. Number 1. There he is. Yeah. I mean, who wants to say all the good things about Leo? Who's going to do it?
Wyatt, I think it's your turn.
Is it my turn? He's the best Fade. He's the best Sova. He has the best utility. He's incredible at all aspects of the game. I just, I mean, it's someone
Leo.
else needs to get good so these lists can be fun again.
It's actually the realest shit you've said
Crazy.
all episode, Wyatt.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't die.
I feel like there's just nothing else to say. Like, what it's just.
He doesn't
Honestly,
die first.
The
ever.
best, the most engaging like side bet you could do at Champions is when into Champions will Leo's first death come, because motherfucker has gotten to like both semifinals of the 2 global tournaments without dying first in what is it, like 4 games at the very least. That's gonna be the most engaging side bet you can do.
Yeah,
And most rewarding.
I just think he's great in terms of just. I think he's the whole package really. He, out of all the players I watch in every single region, he's the person that makes the least mistakes. And then when I even just like see some of the fanatic stuff, in terms of just like about his personality and stuff, I think he's like very, very hardcore set. He's just all into the game, and I think he just has a good mentor in terms of people are like speaking about even just like Tokyo or lock-in, and he's just like, you're living in the past. Let's just focus on like the next thing. And I think that's just such a good mentality of just like you're only the best until you're kind of not, and just staying in the present. And I think that's the biggest thing for him. And yeah, he just makes the least mistakes. He's the closest to a perfect player that we have, and he's the best at his role.
Yeah. True, factual, and real. Do we want to take a look quickly at how it all breaks down? Can also then look at like the 10 through 20th, right? See what's going on there. How the points have kind of stacked up. What do you guys regret the most? What I regret is there are 4, maybe 5 players that I wish I could have squeezed somewhere, but just I didn't, but I regret it, which are like Xiao, Sugetsu, Ethan, and Chichu, personally. But
I'm sad that I'm not able to get a single controller in the top 10, given that we just went fucking 2022 with insane amounts of controllers in the top 10.
Yeah, it is wild.
This is the first time for me Mako's fallen out. Like,
yeah, same.
11 less. 12 crashes,
all right,
13 Boostio.
I want to look at this 11 to 20, though. I'm going to read it out. 11 is less, so he barely fell off the list. Crashies 12, Boostio 13. Safe is tied with Boostio in points. Then Ethan, Kesnit, Mako, Devi 18. Bruh. Psalm
Ethan only got
19,
9
Victor
votes.
20. Am I sipping the silly juice, or should Devi be way higher?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at if you ignore Tokyo, he like first of all he did his role at Tokyo, but if you look at Paper X like in the actual season, he was the second best player in Paper X. So yeah, I think so. If your top list is for the whole year, then Device should has to be in the top 15 with how he played in the split. Otherwise, you won't watch him. As simple as that. He was their second best player. He was a super hard carry. So yeah, for me, he has to be on there. But if you're looking at just Tokyo and you're weighing just more recency bias, then I can understand it. Other people performed not even better, but like flashier, I guess.
Yeah,
terms of
I don't
the
know.
numbers.
I don't really.
games at Tokyo. too.
I'm not either of those. And for me, yeah, I think this is kind of fair for me.
Really?
Because and even when I'm watching this year, I kind of a lot of the moments where I'm like, holy shit, did I just save them? I don't really know if I like say that's a good play or wow, that's insane skill. Like a lot of times I come away from it. Not every time. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great player. I think 15 to 20 is still a great, like that's somebody who's great at the game. But I come away from some of those moments thinking, wow, that was kind of lucky. Like,
you think that other people could have done the same in the position, basically? like similar?
no, I think they would have played it differently, and it would have looked different as well. Like it would have been cleaner or whatever. And again, not every moment, but for me, a lot of times, especially last year, I'm watching Devi and I'm thinking, and like. He's one of the middle people for Paper X for me, and middle is enough on that team where it's like kind of far away from the rest of them.
How do you guys feel on the Ethan placement? Because he's
I
a
had
player that's
Ethan
had
in my
specific
top 10s.
talk on account of Nismo posting that he's like an easy top 10 player and more people should include him there. He's currently at 15 on this aggregate list. What were you going to say,
Yeah,
Mimi?
I mean, I said I have him in my top 10, like, or somewhere up there pretty far. I mean, Ethan, I think, was individually the best player for EG. I think his utility has been like the most consistent to help propel that team forward. They run a lot of different comps that require a really strong initiator player, and Ethan has consistently been able to do that. He brings a big element of experience for that one. And also, even going back to previous rosters, he always performs at these big international events to a really high level. And I think for me, with my expectation of EG going really far and being a favorite for another top 4 team, I think if they are to make that run again, it will be Ethan, who is in part, again, leading that charge for EG. So I think having him up here is really fair. And I'm honestly surprised that more people didn't.
Yeah, I was kind of in between putting him and or Boostio from EG. For some reason, I can't get away from the implicit, like, oh, there's too many Team X players on this list. I can't, in my mind, I just can't. So I was like in between Boostio or Ethan on this list. And for me, Ethan is a LAN demon. Absolutely. The guy's been crazy all year because we've been playing on LAN, I feel like. And he's consistently good with his util, but he doesn't have those standout moments that I find from Leo where I'm like, holy shit, his spacing is so good. Like Chronicle as well. Just the two guys that I can compare because they play like both similar-ish roles where they're trying to support their teammates as much. Where it's just discipline's crazy good here, blah blah blah. It's not like that, but he's definitely up there for me. And I think the like criticism about people not talking about him is probably warranted because he should be talked about. I think people look at Calm on this team more so, and they see like crazy cool util, and they're like, oh my god, Calm is so underrated, but realistically, like a lot of times they just don't see what Ethan is.
Yeah, I think that kind of ties in with the Devi thing as well. It's just what happens when you're on Sky. Like it is literally what happens when you're on Sky. You're doing a flash to get information at a certain part of the map. That will then like blow up. Say it doesn't hit anyone. You have an early rotation. You right there because of your timing, your util is everything. Does it look flashy? Do people remember it? Do people even realize that it happened if you're not looking at the minimap? No. So it's just like no one kind of realizes the impact that, in my opinion, these Sky players are having, and the other like initiators are a bit more flashy. You realize the recon going off, you're seeing them flashing on your screen. When they're getting highlighted, you're watching a drone, etc. So it's just the issue of being on Sky, really. But in my mind, like both of them just have insane utility. Especially, I think Ethan's fine at this place because again, I kind of just do it like the whole year. in terms of like where it was it's very consistent, don't get me wrong, but it's in like the whole team itself, it wasn't great if I look at it, so it was hard for him to look like a standout. But yeah, for me, when I'm looking at EG, he was my number one that I had like out of that team on the list, just because just because I just think his utility is great. It's always him setting up his other team, or his flashes are just perfect. Like, yeah, I think he's one of the best Sky players that I've watched.
Is there anyone else on the list? If you want to bring it up again, Kurt, I just want to see if there's anything else interesting to prompt discussion. Actually, I do want to say what
RB in 21. What's going on there?
What?
I wanted to say though, I think the discussion about the controllers is pretty interesting, because the first controller on the list is Mako at 17. And last year, Mako and Marv were like top 5 the whole time, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then the next is Som at 19, who I put Som above Mako at the moment, because this entire year, Som has just been great to excellent from lock-in till now. He has not had a misstep, outside of if you want to weigh in that one clutch beef. But like, come on, that's, like overall, he's been outstanding. I think he's the best controller right now. Is there any dissent on that opinion?
Yeah, I think Mako's still better than Tom.
Yeah.
And that's an example of a beef that, I won't count, but sure.
This year.
Yeah, I know.
I think so, this year?
I think Mako's played in bigger games and performed better in those instances.
Has he?
Like, yeah, and lock-in, for me, I was like, is Mako still the best controller? It was like a big narrative, like refreshing into partnership that I was in my mind going through, and I was just like, unequivocally, yes.
Wait, what do you mean by bigger games? Sorry.
Against like better opponents and higher stakes. I'm talking like lock-in semifinals, like that sort of thing, and then grand finals. Obviously, some played in that one, but other than that, they haven't gone deep in tournaments. And when you look at, like, for example, NRG Loud at lock-in, something like that, I would qualify as a big game. I don't put some as near as a performance that Mako had at lock-in. But either way, like I have some 2 places away from Mako. Like, it's not crazy big of a difference, but I think it's a little, just because he's had a little bit more consistency with his team, is where I think we're looking at this and saying Som might be better than Mako, but I don't necessarily think that's really true.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming on that. What do you think, Sliggy, about the controllers of today?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the initiators have just taken over, really. I mean, Som's been great. Som's been good. It just hasn't been as standout. Like, it really has been the year of the initiators, and I don't know if that's more because of like meta or what, but it just hasn't. We just haven't seen any crazy standouts. It didn't really make sense last year because they shouldn't have been fragging as heavy as they were anyway. Like, it was kind of wild that happened. I don't know if it was a bit of an.
I think it was because part of the reason was because you had a lot more controllers lurking, since you had Chamber being in the pack a lot of times. But I don't know.
But even with this year, it felt like we had like a bit of an uprising with double controller. So you would feel like maybe they had a bit more freedom. So yeah, I don't really know what went on.
I mean, Pancata and Marv were both. I mean, they're both on the same team that was mid. So like, if they were both on top teams, maybe they would still be in the conversation, right? But they're
100%.
I think this is just from the equation entirely.
Yeah, it's literally just proof that. The role in these types of instances when you're thinking of best player is, while a lot of times, Sliggy, you're right that like Sky players or whatever don't get the same credit. Like, some players are just really good and they play the controller role. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that puts them in the top 10. Some players are just really, really fucking good and they play the initiator role, and that's why we have 4 initiators in the top 10 this time. Like,
it would be interesting.
Sort of thing happens.
Listen, we're banning lists, but it would be interesting to have like conceptually just.
We're not banning lists. We got 5.2K people watching us right now. It's gonna be our most watched episode before Champions. We're not banning lists.
We're
doing all the power rankings.
We're banning everyone else from lists. We're the only ones that can do lists. No other lists. No one else.
All right, this is a bit of a future thing, but what we're gonna do is we're going to do our own list and we're going to do a global list on top of that. So
Huh?
we'll be able to
That's-
compare our list to the global list.
That's
It's not
all
going to be 2 individual lists. They'll run concurrently. We'll compare our rank to the viewer's rank.
Oh, so like just us versus everyone. Oh, that's kind of sweet.
We have the capabilities to do that now. Shout out
Oh,
to
it's over.
Space. Shout out to Space, the stats man, for hooking us up with the ability to do that. So we will be doing that next time.
Cool.
Maybe at the end of the day.
I
I
did
think
want to.
though, sorry, just to
Yeah.
like wrap up this discussion about like why we don't see any controllers. I think part of it is also just that 2 of the top teams have controller players. Like right now, I think the list was giga dominated by A Fnatic and B Paper X, both of whom, besides kind of Forsaken, have the controller player who's taking more of a backseat to just like a crazy amount of stars on those teams. And I think it's also just the fact that in this meta, it's a lot of teams who are playing, like, for instance, with Paper X, like the double duelist comps and crazy stuff like that, and Fnatic, who's still really just like big on having like some of the best initiators possible, that in part it's because of the makeup of the top teams that so many other controller roles are getting overshadowed, I suppose.
Yeah. Can I just throw one thing in here as well? In
Yeah.
terms of, I know that a topic as well is like the IGLs and like why we don't include IGLs. I'll at least say it from like my end is I never consider the IGL status because I don't know what they're actually bringing in. Like I can have a good guess and know that they could be in control, but in terms of a team, don't know what's going on with the inner workings of a team. So in terms of the IGL status, you don't actually know, even though technically I kind of have a very good feeling that Boaster is doing like a huge amount of it. I still don't include that in because I don't have that other knowledge of the other teams itself in terms of like I don't know how much their IGLs do. So I think that's a lot of the time where like my list at least won't have like IGL biasy, but I know that other people kind of will, but again it's just too much of an unknown for me to like factor it in, and it just ends up being guesswork. So I'd rather just do like eye test without considering that.
Yeah, I just want to. I was gonna say when we were talking about Marvin Pancata, just as don't have to hang on it for too long, but just as an interesting thought is just because we always do this going into an international event, so we're only considering the players at the event. But if we did just do the top 20 players, I wonder how many would be on the list that didn't make it to Champions. Like, would you consider someone like a Zekken to be in a top 20 list? I think it's very reasonable. You know, like I think there's a number of players that might be up for consideration, but they just, you know, they get left behind on account of their team. You know, Zekken is on Sentinels and they made 78 roster changes in one season, so they just had no hope of making it. You know, but maybe that's a list for one day. That day will not be anytime soon.
I mean, that expands the amount of people on the list like dramatically. So it becomes
infinitely.
top 20 out of whatever. And even then, I don't even know if like some of these teams who are not making it are getting up there for me. But yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Yep. Top 20 included literally the entire scene. Putting Nismo in the top 20. Like just absolute medlem.
God,
what were you gonna say,
that'd be
Mimi?
crazy. We can't even compare.
I was gonna say I'm losing focus. I want to make fun of people. Can we look at the list? I want to.
I would like to make fun of people.
Don't make fun of you.
Yeah, I'm
We have a lot of lists real quick. One thing I want to highlight right off the top is that TMV, his list was very similar to the actual top 10 that we had.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Interesting.
Good eyes.
So unfortunately, we can't really look at this cleanly, but
Yeah, it's a lot of data.
that's why I didn't
But-
really want to do this, or I didn't want to do this individually. I wanted to do this, but not.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at that. It's fine.
I don't think there's anybody's list that is egregious. There are some notable misses, but
I want to
mostly
look.
Bren.
Never mind. I was
Can
gonna
we
say.
review Bren's list? Can we make fun of Bren? Like kindly, like as his friends.
Sure.
Yeah, that's tough.
But, I mean, I think his only troll was no alpha, right?
Ugatsu in the top 10.
Ugetsu is
Let's see.
Oh, he has Ethan at third.
He has Ethan in third. He has Victor in sixth. He has Sugetsu in, what is that, 9th
10th.
or 10th? Yeah, 10th.
Brenslitz is very different, but it's low key kind of based.
I mean, even top 3, I kind of fuck with that. Wait, Dryad has Kesnet top 2.
I mean, that's the realest shit I've ever read. That's literally the realest shit I've ever read.
All right, I'm cool. Very
Anyway.
nice. I love America's.
There's
Brent.
a lot of information, and
Yeah,
there's
there's a
no
lot,
way
man.
the human mind can process nor digest what's occurring on our screens right now. So I demand that we move on, lest my tiny little brain turn to soup. All right. So last thing we're going to talk about is Game Changers, because it just happened in this past week. The stage 2 concluded, and so we just want to do a little recap of what was going on in Game Changers. NA, our version 1 of the best Game Changers team in the world. Yes. Am I biased? Yes. But also, one of the best things I think about the Game Changers NA tournament this time was that there was a massive shakeup in the how the bracket played out. So for the longest time, it was just version 1 and Shopify in the grand finals of every single NA Game Changers. And this time Shopify went out way earlier than they ever had in the lower round 3, and Xset with Katsumi Bob went out in the lower round 1, and then in the final lower final, Cole and Disguise, who'd been around for 2 weeks, made it. And V1 are kind of just the goats, so they just didn't drop a map and smoked everybody. But it was very cool that there were a lot of new or upcoming faces, players that had been around but are reaching new peaks, making it really deep in the tournament and playing very well. So it was honestly, it might have been the most exciting or interesting Game Changers NA stage yet. But
I see this topic and I want nothing to do with it. I don't want a repeat of last year. Nope.
what do you mean?
I'll do
Keep me away from claiming a team is the best in the world unequivocally. Because
Yeah, but also
G2 just
V1
won
is the
their
best team in
final
the
as
world.
well.
But
and,
also, G2 had a lot rockier road.
Nope.
Didn't look as good. V1 is currently the best Game Changers team in the world, and Fluorescent is the best individual player in Game Changers. G2 isn't even playing with their full roster right now. They don't have Mary playing right now, I believe, right?
Yeah, she's taking a break.
Yeah. She's taking a break for school. You know who's not taking a break? Alonji. I go. Hashtag grind set. 5 a.m. showers. They're winning it all. It's not going to be like last year. I promise.
I actually think like I'm on board with it. I think you're right. I haven't watched too much of the Game Changer stuff. I watched both for the finals, and in terms of G2, it doesn't look as great as last year. And then, I mean, it's hard to judge V1. They just bang everyone. Like it's not even none of these games are close. Like they are actually just wrecking everyone. So. Yeah, I'm on board. I agree with Mimi. I think that it's their event to win. Whereas I wasn't so sure that it was their event to win last year, but this one feels like this is like heavily their event. Like I think if
they're
they
32
flop
now.
this one, yeah, if they flop this one, then God knows what's going on. But, like,
I mean-
this is theirs.
yeah, it is just they just rolled everybody. It's just they're too good. But also, again, I think the other big takeaway for me from the tournament was just seeing all of the other players like that were doing extremely well, that have been rising up to that level. Like Lace on Complexity was amazing. Like Raze was really good on that team. Kara was really good. The DSG team had been around for 2 weeks and they made the lower final. Like they had way too much synergy for a team that had only been around 2 weeks. Like they looked so naturally comfortable together. And they had one player, Lazy Lion, who had never been on a top Game Changers team, and they were fucking cracked out. It was really fun to watch. There was just so many new faces. So that was very cool. And then heading into the next one, the storylines revolving around like the old guard of the scene and where they're going to be at compared to the new people. Pretty sick. So I'm really looking forward to stage 3, whenever that is going to be, in like a month and a half, or so, something like that. Excuse me. But yeah. Anyhow, I think that should do it, unless there's any final Game Changers thoughts from the panel.
V1 is exceptionally good. I'm excited to watch his DSG team again, and complexity is next up. Yeah, I want to watch more of. I don't know. V1's playing at a LAN in Philly this weekend. I'm excited to see how they do in the co-ed events because already after only like 6 months of this team, they're performing better at those events than, or sorry, not performing better, but they're matching what Cloud9 did immediately. And this is still a relatively new team, and I think they're just growing so quickly, and their players are so good. I see them rolling over the rest of Game Changers. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if, hear me out now, they win GC Champs without dropping a map from here. It's over. They're better.
That's until Bala predicts that Crew are going to go on the Dark Horse run and beat them at Game Changers Champs. We'll have the repeat of last year. But Bala refuses to say anything. Any thoughts, Bala?
But Bala believes what I believe, but he won't say it. But he
No
agrees
thoughts.
with me.
No
He agrees
thoughts at
with
all.
me.
All right, let's take this thing home. It's the weekly award. I gotta get this weekly award to the compound. Oh shit, they're on my ass. And the weekly award, I'm gonna give it to Floor because she was like the obvious MVP of Game Changers NA. Like even if you just pull up the stats, Kurt, it's the kills per round, obscene. Actually obscene. The 1.21. That's just illegal. you simply can't do that. The mechanics that Floor displays in every game, it's so casual and effortless, and you just don't see some of the things that she does from anyone else. Like the consistency of how often she'll just spray transfer flick onto like 3 people holding down mouse 1 with the Phantom. It's just outrageous. I mean, she's just so fucking good. So that is my obvious weekly award pick for this week. But yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you for episode 143. Whenever that's going to be, I don't really know. Or people there, I don't know what's happening.
There's a chance that we can do one at Champs, but I would say it's very unlikely.
Got you. All right. Well then. We will see you the next time we see you for episode 143. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.